Aria, we're live.
What's up?
What's going on?
Hey.
Hopefully, if you guys can hear us, let us know.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You can hear me?
I can hear you. Jake will be there and he'll let us know.
Hey, Jake, can you hear me?
So, what's up?
How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on this thing.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
The conversations have been really great lately.
No, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were already having great conversation before this, and I had half a mind to be like, Stop it. We got to save it. But
save the goodness.
No, maybe not. Maybe just going to go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got, hold on. We can show this. Homemade booch.
Really good homemade booch. Wait. Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not ready. Okay. Ooh. Cheers.
Mazel tov. It was very gingery. But these ones will taste. That's actually pretty good.
It's really good.
Wow, go figure. Yeah, so you are, and I was just pronouncing it again just to make sure, esthetician.
Yes.
So what, I mean, when I first saw that word, I was like, okay, aesthetics,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Totally.
Aesthetics is, my understanding, is the study of, like, beauty? Is that it? Or of form?
Sure.
Physical form?
Sure.
Or what?
Yeah, I think that all applies. But in what I do professionally as an esthetician, I specialize in eyelash extension services. I'm licensed to do facials and waxing and makeup and, you know, you can get into like medical aesthetics and do peels and lasers and all that funky stuff. But
Get rid of freckles.
Skin
Really?
tags.
Skin tags.
Cysts.
I got a skin tag and a cyst.
Well, I'm happy that we've met.
Yeah, I have a small skin tag on my hip.
They're really common.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you get old. Which you're not, but...
Now, this is the second cyst I've had. We don't have to talk about the cyst per se, but I might need some assistance to change the course. So when you say esthetician...
Yeah.
So that's more known or like commonly referred to in the sense of physical beauty, like dealing with usually the face, or is it everything?
Yep.
You said everything, but it sounds like it's primarily the face.
Right. What I'm doing right now is primarily the face.
Okay.
I can do body treatments. I have in the past. My background is in Ayurveda as an Ayurveda trained esthetician, and Ayurveda is...
Veda is those are the cycles in India, right? Or like in the Bhagavad Gita. Is that what we're talking about? The Vedic cycles? Sure.
Right. So it's like knowledge of life. It's like the study of life is what Ayurveda is. Mm-hmm. It's a holistic, like internal medicine, external medicine, wellness, like just knowledge base.
Right.
Yeah. But it dates back like 5,000 years.
Yeah. I was going to say.
Very holistic. Lots of like herbs and teas and leaves and slow cooked warm food.
That sounds like
but that's my basis, and like a lot of the treatments that I do. That too.
That's the basis of everything.
It is. Yeah, Food is medicine, right?
Hippocrates.
It starts there.
Yeah, hold it up. People are saying things. I'm going to check. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming it's great. No one's complaining, so we're all good.
Cool.
I don't have a Jamie today, which I refer to them as basically the Joe Rogan podcast. There's a guy who runs the sound and the thing. His name is Jamie.
I love Joe Rogan.
Yeah, this is basically what this whole fucking thing is modeled after. So when it comes to the aesthetics, it's a different word, because when I said aesthetics, like I'm thinking of AE.
Yeah.
But it's the same word because the way esthetician is like it's the same word though.
I mean, more or less. Like my license.
I'm running this game.
My license says AE.
Oh.
For aesthetics as esthetician, but I spell it like with an E. That's kind of like the industry. Like the beauty industry has adopted the E spelling and dropped the A. Because aesthetics with an A is more like the appearance of something or the study of something. It could be like the aesthetics of a building or the aesthetic of this room.
It's also like a way to differentiate between the industry, maybe?
Probably. Yeah, they're like,
there's the
we want to do our own thing.
Aesthetics of anything. Yeah, anything with physical form, right?
Yeah.
Esthetician.
Esthetician.
That's the Barcelonian. Yeah. Esthetician.
That's me.
No, man, my uncle is from Barcelona, and he said...
Oh, really?
Yeah, shout out to Francisco.
Hey.
Francisco. But he came... When we were saying goodbye the last time I saw him, I didn't understand what he was saying sometimes. It throws me off sometimes. He came, he said, it's like, it's good to see you, and good luck with all your projects.
Were you like, what?
For a second, I said, oh, yeah, no, yeah. Because I didn't know what he was saying. I thought he was like... I thought he was like saying sorry for my car or something because I got hit and run or something. Oh. But then it took me a second. I played it back in my head.
Congratulating you.
And he's just like, yeah, he's just like,
good luck
and great job.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, no, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, maybe, yeah. But you, okay, so your aesthetics or estheticianness.
Yeah.
That's just one little spoke in the wheel, right? Of what is involved. You said you're primarily doing lashes, so that's a company. You own a company now, right?
I do.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool.
Thanks.
I think more people should be more entrepreneurial minded, and that's great. But I think a lot of people don't have the education, maybe, or don't have the understanding.
I have no formal education. I mean, I went back to college after starting my career in aesthetics because I wanted more.
Right.
And I studied I took a piano class.
You don't need college.
I didn't go for business. No. But taking all those creative classes was like, oh, wait, maybe I want to take a major risk and just start a business. Yeah.
No, I think that's awesome that you did, and I think, like I said, I advocate more people to do that, especially if, it seems like it's a good and bad thing, right? From I'm kind of running a small business too, and that's how I treat it now. I never always treated it like that. But now, because I'm, when I made the move to try to rely on it as a source of income, priorities shift and things change. All of a sudden, sometimes it's not just about doing it for fun or the creative aspect of it, and that there's also all these other barriers and constraints that you have legally.
Yeah.
You gotta eat, right? You gotta be hustling constantly.
Rent is due.
Rent, yeah. Exactly.
And it's already the 12th of the month.
Yeah.
About rent. Yeah, I mean, it's like the difference between working on your business versus in your business. And I feel like this last year, it's been a whole shift in everything. Your mindset just has to change. It's like having a baby, business brain. You're everything is secondary to this other entity that's separate from you, but it also comes from you. But you do have to separate personal from work. And it can be so tough, especially in the beginning when it's just coming from you. You don't have any input for anyone else until you ask those questions or you hire a freelancer.
Which questions?
What's the sales tax in Wisconsin? Or 5.6%. Or, oh God. I mean, do you want examples? There's so many arms of business. I think that's the thing. And then something I'm still figuring out is what are the systems that I need? You don't know until you know. And then all those arms can get so intricate, right? So you've got the financial aspect, which I'm really heavily into right now. QuickBooks is my dashboard.
Reconciliation.
Oh God, so much reconciliation. And then you've got advertising and marketing, internal marketing, right? I'm super fortunate and so appreciative of the client base that I have. Love them. I do it for them. It sounds so corny. But Mettā Lash is about them. And then there's, like events, which is something I'm getting into. And there's like adding on different services, and I'm going to start like retailing product.
Wow.
Which is exciting, but really scary. So then it opens up a whole conversation about like
what kind of product are you talking about? Can you not say anything? Secrets?
No, I've kind of been talking about it.
Okay.
Facial oils.
Oh.
Facial oils and things relating to lash services right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting, like in a lot of ways, like to be able to have your own business and to be able to, it's kind of a double-edged sword in a way, and also like when it comes to me, it's hard to separate a lot of my personal and business. So it's hard to separate the things, like, because every weekend I'm still working. You work every day, but you can also decide not to work one day. Well, at least I can. If you have clients, then if you're you probably have a schedule, right, of days. But like if ahead of time, you could just be like, no, right? I'm sure you don't have to ask a boss, hey, can I take off work this day? You can decide,
right?
Or like, oh no, I'm having an extended holiday where we're not open or something, or like you can be the ones making the decisions. So it's like it's an extra responsibility, right? They have to go into QuickBooks and you have to know how to do all those things, but that's pretty important stuff, I feel like, and that's one of the things I've been learning. I've been spending a lot of time recently in QuickBooks as well, and and with my mom's small business too, which is much bigger, and they've kind of, it's been out of, no one's been really looking after the finances and stuff, so I've been diving in and cleaning it up and doing this thing, and it's been around for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And so it's been long overdue for a lot of like facelifting of financials and accounting and stuff.
Oh wow,
so,
you're like going in the crates, you're digging in the archives.
But no, we're not. Everything's already. We're just starting like kind of new and fresh, and I'm learning it and figuring out. But it's helping me with my with my business and understanding it. It's amazing how anyone who wants to start a business, like you could just go online and do accounting 101, like we're talking about reconciliation. QuickBooks online is free.
Yeah.
Like for self-employed, I have a QuickBooks self-employed. You can do some basic personal business. This is personal, this is business. And but like accounting, just knowing some simple things of accounting, you can really, it changes your mindset. Like for me, at least, it changed my mindset of when I spend money on things, or like I look at it from a completely different angle now. Like I look at things, with this understanding of depreciating assets and balance sheet and all like all those things is like, okay, well, how is this gonna fit into the big picture?
Right.
How's this working?
What's my return on investment if I go out to lunch with XYZ?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how I think about things. Like I'm bringing so much business. That's also why like I had to cut it off. And going back to like the extended holiday,
cut what off?
The business and personal aspect of it,
sure.
Because relationships aren't a business, but I can totally take it there. Or like, I'll treat myself as a business, or like my priorities.
Right.
I bring that into that.
You've become the business.
Yeah, I am Mettā Lash. Mettā Lash is me.
Mettā Lash.
But I think like that's been the healthiest thing for me is taking an extended vacation. Like lately, I'll turn my phone off, and like I'm just like, you cannot get a hold of me after 8 p.m. Like radio static.
That's great.
Yeah, or like just like not doing anything on one day.
You got time for yourself.
Yeah,
away from
for
all
sure.
The noise.
Totally. And then it helps you like prioritize, and you can like shrink in.
Yeah,
and
you
be
can
like,
just
okay,
live in those moments with yourself and reflect, and not just constantly be like, what's this? And that,
right.
Sometimes I've definitely gone down that rabbit hole. Like, okay, one thing to the next.
Yeah, it makes you sick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's an interesting part of it all too. That it's also like kind of sounds like you're taking it from the approach of what you were saying, like this more deeply. It's rooted in some deep spiritual tradition, right?
Yeah.
So that's what that's what's in a lot of. I know there's a lot of movement towards mindfulness and a lot of Eastern
self-care, and
Eastern
wellness
ways of looking at things. Like I'm just obsessed with yoga now, and I think there's a reason why I like crave it and need it. It's because I don't think I haven't had much like physical and spiritual. Like I'd always like did some meditation growing up, but it wasn't like I don't know. I feel like when you do yoga, it's completely different. You're like than just sitting meditation. They're totally different beasts. Like the yoga to me is all about the like wellness. It's all about self-care. It's all about like becoming aware, like being more aware of the moment, being more aware of my body, being more aware of how it feels, how it reacts, how, and that's an education in itself. Like that, like experiencing that when my shoulder's like hurting or something, I notice it's super, but like, whereas maybe years ago when I wasn't doing it, I would just kind of shrug it off and just keep going. But now it's like, what's this? Oh, where's this coming? And then I would try a couple poses and be like, where's this? And try to get to the root of it, and be like, oh, it's because and usually I can be like, oh, it's because I slept wrong. Or is it, oh, wait, no, this my shoulders, like I'm figuring out I'm clenching my jaw. It's like, oh, this anxiety, like just like, got to do all these things, do all this work. And so if you don't have time to decompress, what's it all worth it? What's it all worth anyway? What's the point? I feel like if you're just a vessel to just do work. But that's the thing is, like, the work that I'm doing now is like fun for me, at least. There's a lot of stuff that's not as fun, but like I don't know, I feel like I worked in the industry as a software developer for a few years, and I was working, or even in academics, like when I was in college, I was doing my work, but it wasn't really that fulfilling, and I didn't really didn't really give it my all. I was just kind of like, just did enough to get by, just enough for what they asked, to get the points, to get my piece of paper.
Yeah.
But now I feel like the work that I'm doing is like, oh, this has my intention in it, and this has my, this has my, and that makes it so much more powerful. Like that. And that's, I mean, I guess I've always worked on my music, and I've always done music for a while, and had pretty good discipline with that. But to take a creative thing that is spiritually rooted and emotionally like raw and pure, like with whole, like as pure intention as I can get, and to start framing a business around it is very tricky. I feel like, because it's like, what?
Do you feel like you sacrifice your art or yourself when you like?
I just fear
turn it into
I fear
a
I
product?
will or something. I fear that. But I don't have any evidence to show that I am. I feel like, because I've been doing it every year and I don't have time.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a part of you. It's not like the business came first and then the music is there. Exactly. Like the music is like fundamental.
Exactly.
And that like creative spirit is intrinsic. It's like who you are. And that's got to be the same
for you, I imagine. It's like you wouldn't do that.
I don't know. I've been thinking about that lately.
Really?
I mean, I grew up with my parents running their business.
Oh, okay. So
in
you
my
did have
house.
some education then in business then. If you like,
I guess so.
If you grow up with it.
I guess so,
you
yeah.
knew it was possible.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing that I think a lot of people are not exposed to. And if they were, I think we would have a lot more entrepreneurs and a lot more risk takers. I mean, my parents were in the creative industry too. Like,
what did they do?
My mom owned a record label, and her ex-husband was a composer and a producer and a international house DJ. And my dad was like a rave party promoter. And his ex-wife, is a graphic designer, product creator, photographer. But
so
those
you're around creative things constantly.
Yeah,
then.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, we had a whole studio in our house for making music and beautiful record collection. And my mom was really into cooking and went to like culinary school. And
awesome.
My stepmom had tons of cameras, and my dad was, tons of like. I remember going to like tons of meetings with him about like putting events together and going to pick up like just thousands of flyers from the printers and tagging along and like seeing like, oh, okay, like shit, this is all the things that lead up to X, Y, and Z. Like all those things that you have to do,
all the systems.
Like the QuickBooks, you know, the automated email list or blah, 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 like programming all those things.
Yeah.
And like really hustling to make sure all of that is compact and ready to go so that you can super enjoy this massive event that you've put on.
There's so much behind the scenes for all that stuff. People don't even know how much work goes into these events.
Yeah.
We're putting on one event and coordinating all these bands and all these things and
sponsorships.
Trying to get
after
money
parties.
For it. Yeah, man. But it's probably very rewarding and fun. Like curation of space and environment is something that's like really interesting to me. Like, you know, there's a little bit of that in performance. You know, you kind of command you're on the stage and everyone's, you know, they look up and they see it and you're really loud usually. So like everyone kind of has to listen, but they don't really have to. Like they can, or they can tune you out, or they can be disinterested, or depending on the environment, you know, like how it's set up. And sometimes, and that's the interesting thing about like that curation it's a very interesting world to be involved in, and to have that at a young age. I would imagine because my mom had a small business too, and that's kind of like how I even started thinking that I could do it, was because she had a small business and it was like, oh, so you can create something that's bigger than yourself. And if you have, and so it was just like 2 and 2 with me. It's like, well, I like music and I've made a lot of music. Well, and music connects people. And there's a lot that you can springboard off of it from. You know, there's the events, and then there's the actual music. You know, and recorded music, live music. You know, doing all the, you know, there's so many
music videos,
like music audios,
3D music videos.
Oh, now we're talking 4D. 3D augmented reality music videos. When are those going to happen? Probably exist already.
I'm sure.
Okay, so I need to. Okay, yeah, I think everyone seems to be good. I'm glad. Just making sure. 'Cause I have no.
Are you guys still there?
I have no Jamie. But so what you were saying that your parents they're from Milwaukee?
No, well.
They were because you grew up in Milwaukee.
No, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I'm from Chicago. I'm from like the Wicker Park and Pilsen neighborhood.
Oh, sure. I was gonna say, yeah, like sounds like Milwaukee's got a good scene and art scene now, but and maybe they did in the past, but I feel like with Chicago right there, there's kind of this inferiority complex here, and different things work here that don't work there.
Oh, for sure.
Excuse me. It's weird, like the stuff I hear from other musicians and people. When
you travel, or like
Milwaukee from here, musicians? Milwaukee musicians, yeah.
Versus
what they like, everyone's experiences with performing and dealing with Chicago. Like everyone's just like, no, I'd rather go to New York. Or or like, yeah, I'd rather go to Minneapolis. Everyone always complained. Oh. Everyone was like, that's such a pain. Like to go down there, you got to pay a toll there and back, and if you don't have an iPass, that's like $10, you know, and then it's like it's more competitive there maybe, or like a little more cutthroat.
Totally, it's a big city. It's a major city.
See, I mean, I had some experience with some venue, which I've heard bad things about other people too. But I've heard great things about other venues, you know. But so we'll see. I've only had limited experience, but I've heard things that people are just like, yeah, just not worth it. Just I'd rather drive 6 hours to Minneapolis.
Oh man.
I don't know. This is what I'm hearing. So I mean, I'm still hoping and planning to play more in Chicago. But you know, I had one experience where we were on a bill, things were moving, and they were like, okay. Everything was going, then all of a sudden it was like switched on us, and it was like, no, actually, like, are you going to do this? Like, we're offering you this day instead, and everyone's like, well, no, we can all do that one day we already agreed to, and then they're like, well, actually, you know, we see that, and they were saying stuff that was just, it was weird because their rationale for it, it was obvious that I don't know if like they were purposefully lying because they were saying or just making things up because they were saying things about like, well, Cullah's never even played out of Wisconsin, it looks like. And I'm like, I'm literally was in Chicago last night. Like, what? And I just went on a tour. It was just like bizarre. It was just bizarre. It was like you just came to this conclusion of yourself and make that as a reason.
Like hours before the show?
No, this was in the planning process.
Okay.
No, they didn't like drop the show beforehand.
Yeah, I've heard of that happening.
I've heard that too. But no, this was in the planning process, like a couple months before, you know. And you know, it's totally fine if they're like, oh, we need a local band. Milwaukee isn't local, sorry, and you know we don't have enough evidence that he can draw this many people. That's one thing, but then to just like take the extra step to make things up.
Yeah, well,
it's kind of weird.
That's unfortunate. I'm sorry you had that experience, but I think the really cool thing,
this is one
right?
Venue of one guy. It was one thing, and you know. It's a huge place. So.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago is so big. There's so many different subcultures. Yeah. There's so many different, like, sects of people, right? Like, so many different promoters or venues and, like, different crowds and circles that don't even run into each other because it's such a huge city, like 7 million people.
Yeah, fourth so largest, right? Or no?
I think it's the third.
Third, yeah.
Yeah.
Third largest city in North America.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Yeah, that's huge.
Chicago's great.
Yeah, no, I have some friends that just moved there, and I got to be spending more time down there. It's so close. And my family does have an iPass I can just take. So.
Sometimes I just go through and I don't pay the tickets, and it really piles up. So don't do that.
Some ASMR. I don't know. I feel like people either like that or they hate it.
They're like, oh, stop.
Cucumber in my ears. Well, that's cool. So
yeah.
Well, I first got to know you. Mm-hmm. Well, I met you at No Studios.
Yeah, we were both doing interviews, podcast interviews.
And here we are.
Beth Ridley. Here we are on a podcast.
Maybe that's just what our whole existence should be. Like, we should just always be.
We're always podcasting. Whenever we get together, just quick podcast.
Go live.
Yeah.
But then I feel like the time I started to actually spend some time. There it is. It's so good. Cucumber, ginger, kombucha. Oh yeah, I forgot to say what was in it. I think I said ginger tea and kombucha, but it's very heavy on the ginger.
It's good. Kind of spicy.
There's a little booch in the bottom. See that? It doesn't matter. But we went to see Hozier.
Oh my God, we did.
Yeah, now it's awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
But looking forward to seeing Flying Lotus.
I'm so excited. Right? I'm so excited.
Next week already.
Is it next week? 23rd?
At least next week.
20-something.
One of these weeks. It's on my calendar.
It's this month.
Yeah, it's definitely this month. But I'm excited because he is one of the musicians that we were talking earlier about Daft Punk and how that like changed my approach to music by just like listening to the Discovery and Homework. Mm-hmm. Just blew me away. Like it was so simple yet so effective and so clearly clearly made and clearly intended. You know what? Like they have a whole aesthetic, right? And they have a whole dropping it and have like this whole idea behind there and this concept, like this futurism meets the French house, right? But Flying Lotus is one of these guys that kind of started off with like Jay Dilla, right? Just kind of felt like Jay Dilla, but more spacey and psychedelic and
that jazz element too.
Yeah, but I feel like with a little jazz in there for sure. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like he wasn't full-fledged. I feel like he wasn't moving that until like Cosmogram or I don't know, maybe he was always doing that, I say, but I guess I didn't feel it as deeply in his music till around then, like when they started to like, I guess in 1983 there's a lot of that stuff.
I think the improvisation of his work with electronic music, like the structure of jazz is present all throughout. Yeah. Which makes sense, right?
Because
when Alice Coltrane is Coltrane,
right? Yeah, she's very talented. of course, John Coltrane as well. But that, right, yeah. I mean, you grew up with musicians, and just imagine him, right? Like growing up.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, John Coltrane is, you're talking about someone like a creative work or some sort of business or idea that's rooted in some deeply spiritual element. John Coltrane.
A Love Supreme.
Love Supreme is.
You know the story behind that, right? Like,
tell me. I know some of it about it, but.
So he was like, you know, much like jazz musicians, like super deep into heroin. And I don't know if I don't know what exactly his rock bottom was, what the series of events were, but he locked himself in his father's bathroom for like a week, just like quit cold turkey. And from that, A Love Supreme was written and composed. And then he like never touched heroin again. So the story goes.
That's got to be like that's probably like a whole fucking trip, man. Like going through that heroin withdrawal, and doing it cold turkey and stuff. There must be some intense things happening in your body. I mean, I've seen train spotting, right? I don't know if it's always like that. It always depends, I suppose, depending on the person and how deep they are in it. Heroin is an interesting thing because, I mean, it's obviously rampant and part of the reason why our life expectancy in this country is going down these last 3 years.
Yeah.
But like I had some surgeries growing up in grade school, and I had an epidural of morphine into my spine.
Oh my God! In grade school?
That was in high school.
Jesus.
The epidural was in my freshman year.
In your spine. Whoa. Morphine in the spine.
Yeah, morphine in the spine.
That's serious.
That's a good name.
It's the name of our podcast.
Yeah, it was a major surgery. I had pectus excavatum, so like it was a sunken chest. So they went in and broke my sternum with like it's like a mechanical hammer or something, and they put a metal bar in my chest, and then drilled it to my rib cage.
Oh my God!
Kept it in there for 2 years.
Oh my God! How old were you?
14.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, and that's when I had my first out of body experience, and then all of a sudden I was having like tons of sleep paralysis and stuff after. Because it was kind of spiritual awakening. I mean,
you're going to the core of your body.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, I think you're
shaking stuff up.
The out of body experience happened when they gave me Valium first, and then they gave me like laughing gas, and then they gave me some other freaking thing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "You're gonna feel a little pinch. You're gonna feel a little pinch." Seriously, and everything just went. And then all of a sudden it was whoa, and then I like spiraled up and looked down at my body and saw the doctors like moving, like handing their things to each other, and hear the clanking of the stuff and looking, and then just as I got up, then it went back down, and then after the surgery, I woke up out of the anesthetic and literally sat up. I couldn't sit up for a week after that because it really broke my freaking sternum. But right after that surgery, I was freshly, stitched up and broken sternum, and I sat up completely. And all these nurses were like, "It's okay," and I'm like, "Okay."
Look, I'm like tense right now.
It was crazy. It was a crazy experience. But
yeah, that sounds wild.
But like I was saying, like I don't know. I've heard this from people too. Is that heroin? And I want to go back to talking about John Coltrane, but like heroin. There's this misconception that it's like you take it once and you're addicted for life, right? I remember growing up, people were saying that, like, you take it once, it's good. But heroin turns into morphine in the body. When you take OxyContin or hydrocodone, which is like Percocet or OxyContin or whatever, it also converts into morphine in the body, and they're all opioids. Opioids, from my understanding, that's what they do. So it's just, and I can understand it because like when I had like 3 refills on this thing, and by the end of it, my tolerance went so up by taking it all the time that I would have to take more and more and more and more every time. And then once I healed, I still had like this stuff, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, because my mom would always be like, oh man, you got the good stuff, shit, like jokingly, but like I don't think she was joking, but Like, so then I was like, oh, what is this? And then I'd try it and be like, oh, and then I would like write poetry or like watch a movie and just be like, whoa, like this, you just feel this, you feel euphoric.
So you've composed 13 albums. Which album came after that experience?
That's a good question. But that was in 2000. I think that was like right at the early stages when I started like really composing. It was right around there. Like that's when that was like 2006. That's like when I released my first album, when I started really going after it.
Coincidence?
I don't know. And that's the thing is like you're talking about someone going through withdrawal, obviously. So like I wasn't addicted to heroin. I went, like shooting it and direct to my veins, just getting fucking nailed with it. And I always had these slow release capsules of a heroin like substance, But the point what I was trying to say is I'm not addicted to it.
Yeah, I'm totally not insinuating that heroin and creativity are linked either.
I think there obviously is, right? I mean, because of these altered state of consciousness.
Well,
what I was saying was that the extreme situation of him
the
going through
withdrawal
can be, I think those types of things.
Spiritual awakening.
Right.
Totally.
And it could be the same thing with any psychedelic experience or any out-of-body or near-death experience, which is yoga. Basically what it is. When they put you under these intense amount of drugs, and that's a near-death experience. Like they put you out, and there's not always, it's not always certain that you're going to come back. Awaken from anesthetic even. Like that's scary. But yeah, that's a really fascinating thing. Obviously, the guy was a genius too before then,
Mm-hmm.
But to have that, because it was so. That's the really spiritual, deeply like that Love Supreme changed everything. Like it moved the culture of everything. Like all art forms changed.
Totally.
And there was that whole movement at the time, this like intense black intellectual spiritual movement that was just cutting edge and moving everything forward. No one could stop it. It was just like going crazy. Love Train and stuff, like, and the Love Supreme, and it's all rooted in love, right? And it's all rooted in love and self-care and like kind of this
meta.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, so that's that. I can only imagine then what it would be like growing up around that type of, because I've heard stories of that, and I grew up in a family that was musical, but like, being in the industry, my family have been kind of doing their own thing. They're not really in the industry, like they're all composers and performers and stuff growing up, but a lot of them aren't really in it anymore. If they do it, it's for fun. I have an aunt and uncle who do it more often. Uncles who does it full time, but he's the only one. One of 17 kids. And
you are?
No, my mom is.
Oh wow.
Yeah, some gypsy blood.
That's a big family. I'm one of one. Well, I'm one of two.
Do you have any cousins?
Well, I actually have a brother and sister. I mean, like, I definitely don't.
You're one in a million.
That was the point I was making. No, we just have different moms, but
sure.
We're super tight.
Yeah, I mean, you share any sort of commonality, and you share space and time and experience.
Common law siblings,
and a little genetic resonance that never hurts that stuff. Sometimes it can be. Sometimes that, like, if you're all operating in the same frequencies, your DNA is so similar, they're all expressed very similar. It can be good and it can be bad. It can be like, I was just on this trip with some of my family, just like up to Sturgeon Bay. It was great. It was a great trip, but it's like every other time with the family. It's just kind of, sometimes it's just like, it's fine. There's nothing. We're on a vacation. Like, don't let other people. It's a good exercise in that mindfulness and stuff and being, because family is so deeply emotionally, like, all your childhood trauma,
everything
is tied to your brothers and sisters and your mom and dad and all those experiences.
Yeah
Cuts
deep
cuts. Those are the deep cuts.
Back to music.
It always goes back to music.
Yeah.
Back to the reality.
Yeah.
Back to life. Backstreet. Back.
Backstreet is back. Is that?
Backstreet's back.
Yeah. Again. Oh. I wasn't listening to Backstreet Boys. I was listening to like New Order and Arcade Fire.
You had a much better education.
I just came across this like, I just recently moved, so I was getting rid of a lot of stuff and like going through stuff, and I just came across this like little like blurb that I wrote about myself in middle school.
Oh, nice.
It was like, you know, tell me about yourself right now. And I said something like the most Aria thing ever. It's so dumb. I said like, I'm very mature for my age.
Nice.
I was like, I like a lot of different kinds of music. You won't see me tuning into the radio or something.
Nice.
So stupid.
No, yeah. But those are the heart and core. So I remember writing an article. It's probably somewhere still online. Someone could probably find it, I'm sure. And it was like bring back hip hop.
Oh, you wrote an artiple about bringing back hip hop?
Yeah,
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was like, all this stuff nowadays, it's, you know, like Soulja Boy, it's garbage. It's all contrived. It's all oppressive. It's all, you know, it's these people seeking symbols and not seeking like true power in their music. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like the breakaway from intellectual hip hop.
Exactly, and that, because to me I could feel it, and I mean I could feel it, and because I could resonate with it, but you know, it's not. It's hard because it's such blend now and stuff. But like you're saying, you don't look at the radio. Like that's how I felt too. I was like, once I've learned the industry about how, because I mean, talking about just corporate structure in general, that especially involving arts,
right?
Like they don't really mix that well in some ways. Like the goal of the corporation is to make money, not to make art.
Art or media.
Right.
Because I think media had a huge influence on how we digest hip hop. Music videos on MTV. Well, I mean,
when do you think that breakaway was? When do you think? Because I feel like it was like maybe after NWA and like when gangster rap became commodified, and so. You know what I mean? Like, there was a huge, like, when there's Big L and even 50 Cent and stuff, like, there was a lot of, like, I'll throw those jams and be like, all right, yeah. Some of 50 Cent stuff I wasn't too into, but I liked a lot of it. And I don't know when, there's probably not a date that it changed or whatever, but, like, I feel like as hip-hop became more and more mainstream and more, like, oh, we can make money off it. Oh, wait. And then it's obvious because I think that the industry also moved towards, we only want one person on stage. Like they even got rid of the DJ and stuff. It was just like one rapper on there. and I forget who I was listening to. I was talking to someone. They were talking about how that was shaped by the industry, about like only dealing with one person that you can control, and that like all these people are behind the scenes that own the art. And they're just there rapping, so it's like that's the perfect thing that they want. They want to push this model of like one person that's a performer who writes their lyrics and stuff, but doesn't write the song. So they only own parts of it,
right?
So it's like kind of this built-in, and they push this mindset of like, you know, getting these symbols and looking after these symbols. And I think it's changing maybe now. Like I think there's a reaction to a lot of this stuff. But I remember writing about it, and I mean I loved Tribe Called Quest and Souls of Mischief and The Far Side and so many Jeru the Damaja, Gangstar. Oh man, Guru is like I think he's number one in my book. Like, yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. He's up there at least. He's definitely top three. Definitely, I don't know who
are top three for you. Someone asked me this the other day, and I was
That's a good
like, well,
question.
like, damn, like, what era? What coast? Are we talking, like, lyricist? Are we talking, like, personality? Are we talking about, like, number one featured? We're talking about, like...
I'd have to, like, map
so many
them
different
all
facets.
out and, like, score them, and then I still wouldn't be sure. He's up there because I love his wit, and, like, I loved his intellectualism.
Yeah.
But he didn't do it in a way where it was, like... I mean, he would do the braggadocio thing, right? He would always be like, my rhymes are better than yours, obviously, because I work. But it was always like, not because he's got some special thing. He's just always like,
because I work.
Because I worked for it.
Yeah.
When you're out in the club, I'm at home working. When you're out doing this, I'm working. And I'm coming from a spiritual point, and I'm coming from this place of honesty. And you guys can do whatever you want, but this is my message, and this is who I am. And he was explicit. And then you have DJ Premier, and it's like, all right, well,
it's over.
You don't even need it, you know. But I like that he was like kind of the best all around, I think, for me, because his cadences and his flow and his meter and how he would structure things and stuff, and it was very, I don't know, I feel like he found a voice, a unique voice, and a unique thing that no one really had. It was like, oh, that you can hear it, you know exactly. Sometimes when you turn on some you can hear everyone's kind of doing this similar thing, and,
yeah,
you know, obviously things that, you know, certain meter and cadences in rap, they take off, and there's that, you know, for example, one of the things that people are doing now, which I was
the triplets.
Yeah. And someone says that's a Scottish thing. That's not. I don't think that's true.
I think it's rooted in classical music.
It's just no one owns the triplet.
No, it's just
everyone's had that.
How you arrange music. Yeah.
But apparently they're in. I saw a YouTube video about it. I forget who it was.
Was it Vox?
Maybe it was.
Was it a Vox video?
Good
they
ones.
do. They really do.
That girl and that guy, like classical pianist.
I don't know.
She's like, she looks like she's like, her ethnicity is Asian, and he's the black dude, and they like, he knows all this jazz and hip hop and production and all this stuff, and she knows all this theory, and they come together and they make these like video essays about, and they like work with each other, being like, oh, we're trying to discover this, can you give me this? And then they like,
see, that's the coolest thing, like blending genres. Yeah. The juxtaposition between just also like a theory standpoint and like the theory and technical is really cool.
Yeah. But
like where that person is rooted.
Right.
If it's in jazz or if it's in classical. Yeah. And that fusion between the two. And that's Flying Lotus. Right. Right? It all comes back to Flying Lotus.
He's got the jazz and he's got the hip hop. And
then the visual element. It's like, wow. Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, that visual element is so huge. And yeah. And I mean, he's inspirational not just in that, but also in what he was able to do with Brain Feeder, and is able to do with that. And like, that is the ultimate. Any artist who achieves that, and I think Bon Iver does similar things, and Jack White and stuff, the people that I kind of like look up to as like, you get a platform, you get a success. What do you do with that? Mm-hmm. You taking it all and like being like, and like go, or like, going deep into what that success, or in keeping it for yourself, or what do you do? Like, he created a platform in his label, Brain Feeder. I know he's not doing it all alone, right? I'm sure. But at first, it's just like the people that he's tight with and the people that he believes in LA. And it can just, by doing that, it helped create a movement, right? And you have like, like, I don't even know, Daedalus and Dorian Concept, and who's that guy that wears the Daedalus wears that? Great Twitter follower. He's always breaking down the like what music is and what it means.
Who is this?
Daedalus is his name. He's on Brain Feeder. And there's a guy who just recently passed. If you know Ross G. Mm. Yeah, he was kind of a student of Sun Ra. If you know Sun Ra. Sun Ra is mind-blowing. That's the Afrofuturism distilled down in like like George Clinton, but in the root of psychedelia and the root of that mysticism, the Afrofuturist mysticism, he's bringing it there, and he's whereas, you know, George Clinton brought that Afrofuturism, but he made it funky as shit. It just was, you know, obviously George Clinton and Parliament and stuff, like the funk level of that is iconic. The funk. Like he is funk. Whereas, like, and so Ross G was kind of this new, the new school hip hop stuff, like the post Dilla, all of the things that you love about Flying Lotus and these beats music and jazz, but he would also bring the, like, some Caribbean influence into it, and also the Sun Ra, like kind of the Afro, like Afro-Cuban, no, not Afro-Caribbean, like
dubby.
Yeah,
kind of
so
dubby.
Bring a little dub into it for sure, and so bringing the dub plus the Afro, those traditions, and it's really cool blends of all those stuff. And I think that's what's really fascinating about all the music now, that people like, it's constant genres changing, and like it's only expanding. And I wonder, because when I was studying with my professors at Trinity, studying music, they were all like, we're studying the survey of the history of modern music, you know, essentially be like looking at history of all the different compositions and how it changed over time, and like the people that made huge changes were like, we're gonna bring different things into an orchestra. Everyone's like, oh, don't bring that into an orchestra. No, I'm gonna compose for this. I'm trying to think of like different types of drums or noises, or random sounds and stuff, and people
bringing performance into it, like performance art.
Yeah, like John Cage and stuff. And one of the things that they were saying, kind of, it was like, well, after postmodernism, everyone's kind of just like, this is the current stage, just like postmodernism. But seems like all the people are moving to Eastern, and like going to find what people in Vietnam or the traditional music of cultures that were more isolated from the West.
World music.
Right. So
it's a lame term.
That's a Western centric word, right? It's just like it's like calling someone a pagan. It's like, what? It's like, oh, you're just not Christian. You're just not one
totally.
of us.
It's just not American music.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And I mean, most all the companies that you consume music through, radio and streaming platforms now, are all...
you won't catch me tuning into the radio.
Oh, there you go. Do you listen to MSE or WMSE?
Actually, I do. It was a joke.
Oh, sure.
They got it.
Yeah, but the Kiss FM, I can't stand that stuff. I could never...
Even V100.7. Like, I used to be really into that.
Yeah, no, they put a lot of good R&B on there, right? It was a lot of, like, R&B.
It was good, and now you just hear, like, the same 3 songs over and over. Kind of weird.
With 20 producers. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Always auto-tuned.
Yeah.
It's like cookie, like I call them bubble gum.
It's bubble gum.
You just chew it for a little bit, it loses its flavor after a little bit, and you just toss it out.
Pop a new one in. Yeah.
Yeah, bubble gum pop.
Yeah.
Or cookie cutter, that's what I always call it. I wonder about... Yeah, now I'm like curious about what I wrote. I think it was literally called Bring Back Hip Hop, or like something like that. I wrote it.
By Ian McCullah.
Yeah, I think if you search Ian McCullah,
I love it. I love it.
It'll show up somewhere.
That's awesome.
But
did you write it just because you were like, you needed to say something?
Yeah, I needed to say something. It's my friend Ian was teaching me about it, and he showed me what it was and like how it was, and I was exposed to all this stuff that's happening in the 80s and the 90s, even in the 2000s. It's like cutting edge, like the idea of sample-based music.
Oh my God.
Is so... And so I grew up with it, and I've been experiencing like issues with that now. Like, I mean, my vinyl that for my last album was delayed because they're like, I mean, it's a good thing I'm going through this company, Gotta Groove Records. They're really, really fantastic. And, they're doing it all by the book, and they're like, which you should, like that's good. But they were like, oh, well, what are these samples for this first song? It's like a song that I made with tape samples and vinyl samples and digital samples and all that stuff, and put them all together and like made this whole soundscape and this like kind of theatrical song through all these different mediums. And because I grew up with that mindset of sample-based music, it was like all my favorite songs have that drum break that I know that's the New Day break. Oh, let's give the drummer some break, or that's the funky drummer, or the amen break, or whatever. Like I can recognize the sound, the samples, like constant. It's constant. All the songs in the 90s and stuff, all those classic hip hop songs are like sampled drums or a drum machine. And so it's just weird, like now, like looking back and being like, that's one thing that the industry, maybe we were saying is something earlier, you were asking, like, is it affecting the way you, like, is industry or the business set affecting the way you compose it? And that's one thing that maybe it might be more recently. I mean, I've been trying to move away from it. That's the thing. It's like, I have to move from just finding random samples, not caring where it comes from, to, okay, how is this going to work when when the money is involved with this, because I don't own this. Intellectual property is something I have to be very aware of. And I submitted my stuff to and everything. I was being good with it at Creative Commons and stuff that I know I owned, like some loops and stuff that I owned. But just they were like, we need the documentation for all this. And I sent them thing, and they're like, this isn't, what are you doing? Like, no, like you have to give us documentation. I was like, what do I do? And they're like, yeah, usually lawyers prepare this for people. I'm like, well, I only raised enough money for making vinyl, not for hiring a lawyer. So, but they were nice and like basically held my hand through the thing. So it's like something like that. Whereas, man, if I have to find different samples, or like I have to approach it a little differently. Like maybe I can't just use any sample, which is kind of restricting in a little way, because it's like, but at the same time, I get it. Like, usually, I think the thing is, like, if
I don't
you
get
can't
it.
tell, then don't say anything.
Yeah.
I think that's the law.
Are you familiar with Girl Talk? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that documentary, Cut Copy?
No.
Oh man.
Because I know that he got
everything.
Everything.
Oh,
because his music was just mashup music, right?
Right. Yeah. My mom took me to see this Girl Talk documentary in like 2009 when we first moved here. Oh yeah.
I was all right.
It was all right.
It wasn't that great of a
in
show.
The documentary, I think they cited like,
but it was also
like 92 samples in one song. And then he, like, a lot of people came down on him, and then there's this huge conversation about intellectual property law. Yeah, it's like, do you really own an idea?
But you can own a recording. That's what it's like. You can own. That's from my understanding, and that's like, I grew up with this mentality. I grew up in the open source world in software, that I believe truly that information is sacred, and that if you limit people's access to information, even through the ownership and stuff of things, like, I'm not totally advocating for the abolition of private property, but it seems like that is a little bit of a barrier in a lot of like creative output, like having to own things and putting monetary value on things that are so deeply spiritual and emotional. It's like, seems like, and
things that we don't own,
right?
Like we just
there's all these cases now that are of. I think there was one recently with Katy Perry or something, or there was one with the Robin Thicke one. All these cases where people are like, it's getting ridiculous. Like, it's going off the rails with people pretending to own, not pretending, but they're arguing in court that they own it, like that they own a minor scale, like
really?
Yeah, like it's getting bad. Like these juries they're juries of people that aren't educated in music theory.
Oh,
don't
God.
know what's going on, and so it's basically who can argue the best, who's got the most money with the best lawyers,
right? And
then all of a sudden it's this very, in law, precedent is very important, and when you change precedent, and when it's like, oh, this sounds very similar, so it must be the same, and it has, because it's the same scale, it's a little different. Maybe you have one variant of note that's a variant from the other one, but it's the same concept, and it's moving in the same way. So that means that you copied it from them. But then when you look at these examples, and then you look throughout the canon of music, you all the way back to classical, like you're saying, chances are Beethoven had
or African drum beats.
Or yeah, anything. Yeah, like what? Yeah, you own rhythm.
Or like bell.
Right.
Bell signals.
Yeah, bells are atonal. You know that? They don't have a specific. Well, you can tune bells to be it, but
see, I don't know anything about instruments. Like I just know about like sampling.
Yeah.
I know my way around a turntable, but I don't know anything about instruments.
Tone. Well, you know what tone is, right? Tone, like it's a. Actually, I don't know what tone is. Pretty sure tone has to deal with like frequency and pitch. It's I think tone, but tone can mean like, oh, your tone can be your like also your timbre, but from my understanding, atonal and tonal is like, oh, does these have specific notes in our modes that we have? Like, I don't know. I could. The idea of notes and a scale and stuff on a keyboard, they're all measured by the ratios between them. So it's all math.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it's like a tape measure.
Right. We have an equal temperament scale, so everything have the same. All the half steps have the same ratios. So they're not perfect. Like when you have a first note and the fifth note, it's not a perfect fifth. It's slightly off. It's not an actual fifth. But it's way better to do it like that because then all the other instruments can do it. And then if you were to go up another scale or another octave, then it's like this crazy length and it's impossible to keep track of it. If you want to, anyone can Google Pythagorean tuning, and those have perfect ratios between them. And I'm sure they sound crazy, but they're like the guitar, a Pythagorean guitar has it's like a Tetris map. Well, the frets aren't, these nice frets on a board, not small, it's crazy. It's like a maze. And you have to I don't know how you even play it. I don't think you do. People could say they could probably, I'm sure someone's learned how to play it. And it's been around, but that's only recently too. I think we only switched to that more recently in music. So the idea that people own these ideas in itself, every song I've written is probably just me regurgitating some other song that I heard or something very similar, and I think that's been the case for forever. I mean, there are no new ideas, right? That's someone, I forget who said that, but that everything is just a regurgitation or a environment.
An interpretation.
Or an interpretation, right, yeah. Regurgitation maybe is...
Blech.
Yeah.
You're like the cheesecloth, and it's like all of these unique experiences, and your mom's 17 brothers and sisters are also incorporated in your experience and how you perceive music. Yeah,
regurgitation is probably, you're right. Emulations and interpretations and, well, Picasso said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And I think what he was getting at is Flying Lotus, you can hear Jay Dilla, obviously. But he didn't just copy Jay Dilla. He took it and he made it his own.
Yeah.
Right? So, we can take this form of hip-hop using these drum machines and the specific swing and the specific offbeat stuff that makes it feel like it's organic and real. And even though it's, in those bass lines, it's oh, man. I was just hearing this today, a local musician, Ian Ewing. You ever heard of him?
Yeah.
It was a song on 88.9 of his, and
yeah.
It's just so prevalent in his, that's all I could think of at least. And everyone always hears different music, other musicians and other people's work. Maybe he doesn't have as a huge, but that's what it sounds like. I can hear that Jay Dilla bass line in the back. I can hear that sine tone of just that bouncy, pumpy thing that's slightly off on the slightly in and out of the main beat, and it's just kind of slightly off, and it's funky, it's syncopated, and it just gives you that groove.
We gotta ask him.
Yeah, hey,
were you listening to Dilla?
I'm sure. All right, all new school hip hop, he's the godfather.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so. I mean, that's great that you were able to. I think a lot of people. Oops, a lot of people don't have that environment to grow up in where it's like creatively nourishing, and I feel like very myself included, like very as a musician, like holy crap, like how hard is it for people that have no background in that they're taking it from the beginning, or like people that start creative things in their
it's hard. It's why I didn't go into the music industry. I always thought that I would. I was like, I'm going to join the family business. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But I mean,
you're just doing A, B, and C now.
Day in, and now I'm just doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's day in and day out. It's ruthless. It's so cutthroat.
The music. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like I know that I should probably spend more time in LA and Chicago and New York and stuff, to be working those things. But I enjoy the time on just like building things organically through the internet, and I think it's something that's a game changer in a lot of things. It's like the industry is almost democratized in a lot of ways. You can make a following, and you don't have to get all your money from Spotify, and you can Bandcamp, I remember, like from my understanding, is like really good at getting out everything. You get everything from them, and maybe they take a tiny bit, but like nothing compared to anyone else. Mm-hmm. But it's not as not as many people use it, and it's not like I don't really get much Bandcamp listens, but with Spotify, that's where everyone in iTunes or not Apple Music, that's where everyone goes. But like I can create my own website, and I can have my own platform where people can come to me directly and support. And I feel like that's, we were talking earlier about more like community and local central like systems, or like they're like from the ground up. If you build these small communities and it trickles up into flourishing. Everyone's flourishing because everyone has a skill and a trade, and everyone can communicate with each other directly. And I feel like the internet, with information, when you're dealing with information as commodities and as ideas and stuff, you can create little communities. Like I feel like, everyone that's watching right now and having conversations. Oh, it looks like there's some things I should press, but everyone here is. That's one thing I learned about music is like the point of music. One of the main things, which I finally kind of had a eureka moment last album release, was like all these people come together, like for all different reasons, but they all came because I came. These people are in town, so we decided to come, and it'll be a fun way to come together. It's like
totally
music, and I'm sure having that exposure to events. Planning it, or
house music, Chicago house music, it's all about community, it's all about family,
and that's what it is. It's like, how do we get people together? Well, music is the way to bring together, and people are in a sea of people, right? A sea of people, and everyone's vibing. It's like, dang.
Doesn't matter what you look like. No. Or like, I think my mom was cited in the Chicago Tribune where she was like, people come from ending their workday doing third shift, or like just the idea of like people come from wherever, but they're all here dancing next to each other. It doesn't matter where you came from, but you're here at a rave party in a warehouse 45 miles away from Milwaukee.
And just that,
or on a farm,
that constant beat.
Makes you want to dance.
No, I like boots and cats. Yeah, that. I think I've been to one Chicago place. My friend Joe's bachelor party, we went to this club. It was awesome.
Where'd you go?
I can't. It's been a little bit, but people have said it to me before, and I remembered it. I remember looking, and Mr. Scruff was coming, like in a
Who's Mr. Scruff?
Mr. Scruff's awesome, dude. He's this. I think he's on Ninja Tune. You've heard that label?
Yeah.
I mean, at least he was. I'm pretty sure he's on it. But he does his own artwork and stuff, and he does this crazy. It's a lot of sample based stuff too, where it's like these. It's like instrumental, kind of hip hop things, like kind of like RJD2 maybe a little bit. RJD2 meets, like, if RJD2 was, like, super British, you know?
Okay.
Like, if RJD2 was Wallace and Gromit. I don't know. RJD2 is very theatrical and very, like, orchestral with a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Scruff was, like, I think one of his first songs that I really heard that was big was a sample of the Cantina song in Star Wars. You know that song? Like,
oh, sure. Sure.
But he just put a breakbeat to it. And it's like,
yeah.
So I was like, oh, like, so he got all the nerds, you know, he gets all the hip hop heads,
and just captured them all together.
But
in my elbow.
Uh-oh. It's funny bone.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Ooh, caught me off guard.
I can't remember it, but I heard, maybe you know the club, but is there a place that shows porn and feeds you waffles?
I don't know, but it's a place that I want to go to.
Apparently there's a club, and this was a few years ago when someone told me this. I remember looking it up, and it was real, that you just walk in and there's I think it might be chicken and waffles, but I know there's at least waffles, or it's either fried chicken or waffles or both. And apparently you walk around and there's a lot of screens everywhere of just like pornography. But it's also a club that people go dancing in and stuff, ravey type of club. But I've never been, but that's what I've been told.
Wow.
But the club that I was in was great. It was like my first time ever being in a proper club.
See, I mean, that's the thing with Chicago too. That's like super dope. And another element
it was house
in the music industry.
Felt like a little Frenchy house, so I was like, really, I was really digging it, and I was like, I was loving it. I was dancing. I was like, this, because you go to, I don't know, like I've gone to clubs here, certain types of club music. I don't really. You know, I'm sure you've been in it. Like if you're in a venue or in a place and the music isn't really what you vibe with, then you don't really want to dance. I was like, "Come on, let's go dance." He was like,
"I just can't.
This music sucks.
I can't.
I can't feel it. I need to feel it.
Right.
But when this stuff was going, I was like, "Oh, okay. All right." That's how I feel about when I listen. Like when I go to the Get Down. Have you ever been to that?
No.
At Mad Planet.
Oh yeah.
That place.
Yeah, that's a good night.
Yeah, I'll dance to funk music and vintage 45s. And they play, like I remember one time I was playing, they played one of my favorite John Lee Hooker songs called Going Upstairs. So like they threw...
And were you like, oh my God, this is my favorite John Lee Hooker song?
I was like, how do they have this? How do they know about this? I thought I only knew about it. It's a great song called I'm Going Upstairs. And it's so... The environment, that they must have recorded it somewhere around it, like in this big space. He's talking about dying. You know, it's death, of course. It's blues. Going upstairs. Into heaven. But, yeah, it's great. So, that, you know, I need to spend more time in Chicago, and it's not that far away. I think there is an inferiority complex in Milwaukee about Chicago. And that might be lends to that, like, oh, don't go down to Chicago. I don't know. Like, you know... You never know what's going on, because maybe people are like extra nice and friendly here, but when it's competitive like that, you don't really have time to do. You can't spend all your time, like, you know, dealing with giving people, you know, I don't know, maybe people who don't have a management or something, they send you an email that's like not interesting, or you're just. You know, you do see emails every day, right? Like all these promoters and people, like they're getting hundreds of emails a day probably.
Yeah, I think that you just have to like crack the shell of a Chicago person, and inside is a gooey little Midwesterner.
Right. Yeah. You have to have that shell because you're in a big city.
Yeah. Like, what's your purpose? What's your intent?
Right.
It's kind of like, what are you going to do for me? Or like, what are we going to do together?
Right.
What are we going to do together? And I think that's
Otherwise,
something.
Don't waste my time.
Yeah, I think that's something that separates Chicago. I've heard my dad say this a lot. Something that separates like Chicago from New York and LA is that people in Chicago are much more communal.
Yeah, Midwest.
And like share in the enjoyment of XYZ ABC.
Elemental P.
Elemental P. And it's not
Right.
It's not as industrious, for better or for worse.
Right. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
My mom was in Chicago for like 13 years in the music industry. And then in the last leg of her career, she moved to New York. She was working for a much bigger record label. Like her ex-husband got the record label, and she went on to do like just strictly artist management and didn't have a roster of artists anymore. So she was like one-on-one with these people, and back to that like team, right? Where like it wasn't Mos Def and Talib Kweli. It was like Lori Riegler and Mos Def. It was like she's just in charge of this one person, and it wasn't like this unit of hip hop. It was like there's a village that supports this one artist. You know what I mean?
No.
And
you mean like, oh, I see. So she was part of the village.
Right.
Like, okay, gotcha.
Right.
I thought she wasn't dealing with the village, or she was probably has to deal with all the other people involved in the.
She was
right?
his direct manager.
Oh yeah, so then 100%.
So like making sure all of those gears are turning for this one person to support this one person was so different than.
Most Def has to be in that's number 2 then.
Yeah.
Like, to be totally honest.
Yeah, he's great.
To be totally honest, the Ecstatic, I've probably listened to 200 times. You know, like crazy. Maybe not 200. Feels like that. So intentional. Mm-hmm. And I mean, his versatility as an artist, of course, you know, it's more than just a lyricist. And he's someone who has a deep spiritual rooting too, you know. Those are the people that I will always look up to. And his delivery is great, and his freestyling. He's just smart. He's just smart as shit. He's just you know, like
super smart dude.
You can't teach some of that stuff.
No, it's innate.
Yeah. Mhm. That's I could only imagine artists at certain levels when you have a whole village with your team, you know.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine you know, someone in like 20 years is on a podcast and they're like, "Oh, I listened to Cullah's album like 200 times." Just like I go to shows, like I just saw Nas and Mary J. Blige, and
nice.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. It was so good.
They're on a tour together?
Yeah, the royalty tour.
Nice.
And just this whole audience of people, like just fucking living for them. Like me, and like you know every lyric. And these albums were celebrating 25 years. That's older than me. It's a lifetime. Yeah. And Mary J's what's the 411 or what is it? The Real or What's Up? Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I'm not that
black and white album.
I'm not as familiar.
Dude, she's so good.
I know. Every time I've seen any performance,
have you seen her?
No, just clips.
Oh my god! I didn't know that I like loved her until I saw her. I never was really like up on Mary, and then I saw her perform. I'm like, wow.
Now I'm up on Mary.
She is. You're real up on her. She's insane. In the best way. Yeah,
she's got that neo soul spirit, right? Like right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's a great show. Yeah, I mean the idea of like, and that's what I was saying, like the idea of what can we do together? That idea of inspiring other people. Like I get constantly inspired by these performers, and like. Especially at those levels, and you can see what's possible and what people can do with a whole crowd, and if everyone is connected to a song or to a meaning of something, like you can even see it in Old Town Road. Have you ever seen that video?
The kids?
Those kids, oh my god!
Yeah,
they're all going nuts.
Yeah,
that's when I changed my tune on that song. Like I remember we were after Hosier, that song was playing or something. We went to get pie or whatever after.
Yeah,
and I was really on the fence, but that morning after, because everyone was talking about it, we kind of were talking about it a little bit. And that next morning, I think, or maybe a couple of days later, that video came out of the kids. I was like, okay, all right, like this is an amazing song, I guess. Like it has to be.
Yeah.
But maybe I don't know. I wonder because how much could you take another song and make it? I don't know. I wonder if that can be duplicated, right? Or if it can be I think that's what a lot of these bigger labels in the radio tries to do, right? They try to manufacture consent of what the trends are, manufacture consent. Like, I think that might be a Chomsky book. I don't even know. But I like that. I don't know. That doesn't. It seemed like that was a real viral moment of like this. I think now it has all the records and stuff for things. Now it's like huge. Old Town Road is just beating every record. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's great. I love stuff like that. I just do. Like the same way that I love the Green Bay Packers. I don't like the Green Bay Packers. I don't like football, but I love like the support, right? Like those kids singing Old Town Road is like the fat dude with his belly painted and like sub-0 degree temperature that you just gotta love it. Like you just have to surrender and be like, oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. But I also like that song too.
And they play when
all the time.
Touchdown. They play.
What do they play?
Drum. You know that song? I don't want to work, just want to bang.
Yeah, where did that come from? Who chooses those songs?
I don't know who chose that song.
Because they have a lot of power.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, hit me up, person.
Yeah.
I always wonder about that.
Like that White Stripes song.
Right.
It's used all the time.
Seven Nation Army now.
All the time. It's a sports song.
It's ubiquitous everywhere in the world. Everyone's heard that riff. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that's another. It's like, who owns that riff? Apparently Jack White does, but not anymore. Like, people can sing it wherever, and I think that's next level status. Like when I think another example would be like the Imperial March, or like Darth Vader's, dum 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 dum. Like, everyone knows that motif. Like, everyone has heard that before.
Yeah.
And everyone can, even if they haven't seen Star Wars, they've heard that song before.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. Like those huge, and Seven Nation Army, I feels like it's an anthem, right? It's like, it transcends language, it transcends everything. You go to a stadium anywhere in the world now, soccer, rugby, football. Now, it's huge in soccer. I know that. But in Europe, it's just every sport. I would imagine now just have that in South America and stuff, because it's something that everyone can sing, and it's it's a great song. I think he takes, it's a guitar that's tuned down with a pedal. So I think he just like tunes it down to a D or something with a pedal, just a step down, and plays it, and then he turns the pedal off and plays the chords. So it's not a bass, or he's not detuning his guitar like in a different tuning. It's a pedal that turns everything down.
See, that's so cool too, right? Like, you can know so much about music theory, and then you can add in different pedals or inputs or whatever. Like, there's so many different layers, and that's part of the interpretation. Like, you could do Seven Nation Army and like play it on the fucking accordion and like funnel it through a bag of rice, and it sounds totally different. I don't know. I mean, there's like there's so many different narratives, and so many different, like, I just think of like cheesecloth, or like different like textures.
An accordion with like a funnel through a bag of rice, like an actual funnel.
Yeah, an actual funnel.
You have the accordion.
Yeah, or like what it sounds like through like diesel oil. I don't know. Let's experiment.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great ideas. You got any diesel oil?
No. I really need an oil change. I'm like 4,000 miles over.
4,000? Yeah, that's pushing it.
I know.
Can you hear it in your car?
Yep. Everyone can.
I've never changed my own oil.
But you kill your own meat.
I know. I need to get on
How can you drive a car if you don't know how to change your own oil?
I know, right? Tomorrow, I'm going to be replacing a headlight on the whole headlight, because I have to. Some not so nice person, who I don't know who they are, but they ran into me as I was driving a few weeks ago.
And they drove off?
Drove off.
Like a hit and run?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Where were you?
5th and North. coming off the
Oh, it's right by my house.
coming off the highway.
Oh.
Right outside of
It's an
Levels.
ambiguous levels.
It was on the Bronzeville Fest.
Yep.
100% this dude was, because he like did this crazy trying to do a U-turn, like was turning right and then just like went fully back and smashed right into me.
Dude.
And it was like, I'm just driving. He came out of nowhere, just like just totally reckless. And then, you know, I was like, oh my gosh, is everyone okay? Is everything fine?
Yeah.
I hope they're okay, because I hit right on the driver's side. You know, like who knows if this person could have gotten. I mean, it's not crazy. We weren't going that fast, and there's not too much damage to my car. But I mean, Angie Toyota said it was going to cost $3,000 almost. Like, screw that. I'm going tomorrow I go to AutoZone.
Get in the zone.
Get in the zone and get in a headlight, and I'm gonna just do it myself. Screw that. And
you're gonna watch a YouTube video?
Yeah, I already watched a couple. It seems like
there you go.
Three nuts or 3 bolts and 3 cables that needs to be wired. It's like, you know, that's the thing. It's like, but oil change, I think you need like a pan. You need to like drain it and stuff. And I think so. Like you need to like.
You need to prop it up.
Yeah, what's the word? Jack it up.
Jack it up.
You know, like need to let it drain, and you need to. So like, if you don't have a shop or if you don't have a good reliable jack, and you don't know how to do it, like I remember one time I was changing my tires, and it's just like I had it jacked, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna like take my tire off while I was on the jack, and I'm just like, and then the whole thing goes.
No way.
And I'm like,
Oh my god. I did that once.
Shows you how but that's now I know.
It's like really like you could.
Now you know
kill
you
yourself.
need to really loosen it before you jack up the car.
Loosen what?
Loosen the nuts. As loose as you can get. Then you jack up the car.
Yeah.
Then you take it off.
Yeah.
Because I just jacked it up and I was like,
yeah.
And then it goes, and then the thing shakes and smash.
Yeah.
And it nailed the jack, and it like busted into the concrete on the ground. There's like I'm like, that could have been.
Could have been you.
Could have been me.
Could have been your foot, your hand. Yeah.
Not today. Yeah, I wanted to check, but some people are posting some things. Oh my gosh.
Ruh-roh.
We're good. Yeah, that's one thing I wish I was better at is cars. Because I like build computers growing up, and I always be like, I even wrote a lyric in a song. Like people people always want to talk about cars and chicks, and I wanted to talk about guitars, and guitar stars and magic tricks.
I don't like that.
That seems more interesting to me. But the car thing, I mean, now everyone's. I wish
I knew more about cars too.
Yeah.
It's kind of like health insurance for me. It's like I have it, but like. It's so costly that I don't want to like use it.
Well, you gotta have a deductible, right? You have a deductible. You gotta reach your deductible. And you have premiums and then co-pays and all this. It's a total racket, man. Like, so much of our money is just being spent, and just for nothing. For these companies to just suck the money out of you to like give you what? People, I don't know. People always. I feel like. I've heard this from people before. My grandpa would always say, you know, like that insurance is a racket. And it's really just an unnecessary middleman between you and your doctor and your treatment. And people like to think that the people that say that we have like a great healthcare system here are just totally, they're either paid by someone to say that or their job depends on that, right? Like their system. But all the like healthcare professionals, everyone know, all the professionals that I know, healthcare professionals, they know that something needs to change. It's just like these healthcare companies are making record profits. Insurance companies, rather. Mm-hmm. They're making just so much money, and then everyone's rates are going up. Mm-hmm. It's like, hello, but it's so much. Car insurance, the same thing. Like, if I were to have, this guy, hit and ran. Probably didn't have insurance anyway. I don't know. I'm just guessing. Otherwise, why would
if he ran?
Yeah, either or he was intoxicated, right, or both, or one or the other. Obviously, knew he was in the wrong, and skedaddled. But and then I got a guy. I might like just switch insurances too, because like screw that. Because Geico, they called me and they, when I reported it and stuff, and they're like, "What happened?" And I told them what happened, and they're like, "Well,
you have to pay for it."
Yeah, they're like, "Well, you don't have collision, and technically this is a collision that." So it was like, wait, so if I like caused something and then like, like it would have to be I could have been more reckless in a certain instance in a certain thing, and like, even this guy at the body shop was saying this stuff too. It was like, if it affects your tires or it affects the rims of your tires, then they'll cover it. But if it doesn't, it's like, oh, so I should just like, if I were in an accident, I should just fucking do more, commit fraud so I can get the whole thing. I mean, I wouldn't recommend that, but it shows you, like, I'm sure people do, right? And then I did the math. I'm like, why didn't I have collision insurance? This seems like it's a basic thing. And I looked, did you have the small, or like just the basic deductible?
How much?
$200 extra a month.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like,
what?
Yeah, well, now I know why I don't have it.
Like, with Geico?
Yeah. At least for my car with like the like lowest deductible or something. So maybe.
Oh my God.
Maybe I need to keep looking.
$200 a month?
Or maybe it's per
extra?
period.
Oh.
Which maybe
for 6 months?
Yeah.
Like annual?
Yeah, maybe it's it's still, I mean, I don't know. It was enough for me to be like, ooh. Be like, okay, well, what are the chances again that someone's gonna not have insurance? Maybe there's a chance, maybe I should look into it. But I've been reading stuff online, and I've been talking to other people and people at the body shop. I was like, who is the best people to work with the insurance? And Geico wasn't one of the top.
What do they say? I have State Farm.
State Farm.
I like State Farm a lot. And they're local.
Yeah, I should probably. That's what I was thinking about, swishing it.
Guy Wads.
Pardon me?
That's the name of my insurance agent.
What did you say? Me? His name is Guy?
Yeah. Or
Guy
Gus.
Wads?
Gus.
Guy Wads? That sounds
like someone who sells insurance.
Guy Wads.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? W-A-D-S?
Uh-huh.
Like Wads of Guy?
Yep. Coming at ya.
For some reason, that sounds really disgusting.
I know, that's why I laughed. I think that's his name, or that's just...
No, yeah, that's a great name.
That's just my interpretation.
Yeah.
Good for that guy.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of... Yeah, there's this guy his name is not Guy, but this guy I've been talking to potentially he's a booking consultant, not a booking agent, right? He takes a flat fee. And
what's the difference?
I guess a consultant is someone who just, you give them a flat rate and they just book something, where an agent takes a percentage and is more involved, like with the day, like he just books it, gives you the details.
Okay.
Flat rate. I'm trying to go on a bigger tour, and it seems like he's the only person that I've talked to about it, and I don't really know as many people, and that just seems like it's hey, I'll just, we got another Kickstarter, and be doing some like saving up some money to just be like, you know what, just do it, maybe that's what I'm thinking, but I want to make sure that I'm not gonna like lose everything, just like. Touring is investing, right? Just because you're not making a profit off every performance doesn't mean that it's not gonna be profitable in the long run.
Totally.
Exposure bucks are worth something. They won't feed you, but they'll
plant the seeds.
Right, plant some seeds to be able to feed. Mm-hmm. To be able to, to yield the harvest. But his name, the reason I brought it up was,
what's his name?
Mike Galaxy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Right, it's like a Hollywood agent name.
I know, it totally is. Is that really his name?
I don't know if that's his real name, but
Mike Galaxy, it cannot be. It's like something you'd see on a billboard as you enter LA.
Right.
And he's like...
Yeah, it's like a lawyer, like...
Cufflink is pictured.
Call me if you want to go on a tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are people with funny names that match their professions are really funny. Mm-hmm. I think. Mm-hmm. What's extra funny is people whose bodies look like their profession too, or like maybe I'm just thinking of musicians because there's this great band from Milwaukee called Chicken Wire Empire. You know them? Mm-hmm. And every single person, their body is like the instrument that they play.
Oh.
Like the guy who plays upright bass, he's this big, tall guy, and then the guy who plays the banjo is like this older dude that's kind of portly, short,
kind of round,
balding, yeah, kind of round. And then the guitar, is just like this kind of solid dude that's middle size compared to the upright bass. Still pretty big. And then the mandolin player is super short, small, still but lean. It's like, wow, is this like, this can't be coincidence, like, or maybe I'm just finding patterns in my brain. I'm like looking at it and be like, oh wow. But I feel like maybe people are.
I feel like there's something to that.
There's got to be something.
Yeah.
Because maybe if you're like bigger, your voice is lower, so maybe you like tend to, like you tend towards that range because it's what you hear in your own head.
Yeah.
You hear in your own body, and what is your talking voice. From what I've been told, is that your talking voice is your most comfortable voice. It's like what you tend to do. So like if you're, some people might be up here when they talk a little bit, or some people might be, like in their nose. They probably they'll probably tend to like use their head voice more if they're up there. When their normal day-to-day voice, they might have higher pitched voices, and that like, and so then, or as opposed to, like I speak with the chest more. Like I have a lower registered voice, and that's like what's supposed to be the most comfortable thing. So I would imagine maybe if you're always hearing that range of voice, then maybe you tend to that, or maybe it's all part of the aesthetics. It's that they all look like that. I don't know. It's like that scene in 101 Dalmatians, the Disney movie. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
It's pretty good. There's some good music in it.
You're supposed to say, what? You haven't seen that?
Wow. Have you seen a lot of Disney movies?
The Prince of Egypt?
Is that a new one? Is that a movie? Oh, Moses?
Yeah.
Is that Disney?
The Black Cauldron?
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah, right?
Dude, that's trippy.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a great song in that, too.
Those little orbs that were the fairies that followed them everywhere.
There was a string of some Disney movies in the 90s and 2000s that were trippy.
Mm-hmm.
And that one and the Rescuer ones and not Aristocats.
Oh, I like that one.
You've seen Aristocats?
Yeah.
That's a great soundtrack, too.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the stuff I like just for the music. But the animation's great, too.
Do you like show tunes?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
It's tasteful.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can get a little, like, cliche. And it can get a little passé. And a little... I can't think of another word that sounds like that. But the show tunes, you mean like musical tunes and stuff? And like vaudeville and cabaret? Mm-hmm. No.
Chicago.
Hey, you got it. That's a nice voice.
From the chest.
Chicago. That's where I'm from. Have you ever seen Ace Ventura?
No.
Pet Detective?
No.
There's a great scene where...
Is he with like the big hair and like the floral shirt?
Yeah.
My brother dresses like that.
Really?
Yeah, we totally called him out. We totally called him out.
There's one.
So what happens?
There's these two Ace Ventura movies. The one he goes to Africa and there's like this sacred bat called like Shikaka. Or I don't know if it's called Shikaka, but apparently when you say Shikaka, it was like the sacred word, and so they were like the tribe. Anytime you would say Shikaka, they would like get on their knees and like praise it. And so then there's a scene where Ace Ventura is just like messing with them and saying like Shikaka, and like seeing if they'll do it.
Yeah.
Go down, and then he goes Chicago, and then one guy goes down. He goes, you're out of here. You did it wrong. Like, just the guy leaves like as if he's doing it wrong. I don't know. It was funny. I'm a huge
Jim Carrey fan?
Jim Carrey fan, yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Especially later in his career, like now, like current Jim Carrey.
The evolution of his career.
Dude.
That's someone with some real spiritual rooting and
yeah. Have you seen his painting?
Yes, I've seen. Yeah, he's really talented.
Super talented.
He's got a new show on Showtime.
Does he?
It's where he plays like Mr. Rogers meets.
Oh, what?
Mr. Rogers meets. Who's the dude from the Muppets?
Oh, I don't know.
Jim Henson. He's like a Jim Henson, Mr. Rogers character.
Really?
Yeah, but it's like tragic. It's like his wife leaves him, and then he's got a kid, and he's like him dealing with all that, and then like he's like super famous for being this really like thing that, and so like there's these things where all these all these like people growing up would watch him, and there's like young girls that have come up to him as he's trying to sing. Someone's like, you need to go out there. You need to go like, you know, like get over your ex-wife or whatever. Like go on some dates, and goes on like finds. But then like some of these people are like they've watched him their entire life.
Weird.
And, like,
Weird.
Yeah, right. And they like see him as this like
an actual person, and not like the who he portrayed.
Yeah. But yeah, so then he ends up like liking this one girl who's like about to die, and she doesn't give a crap about him being that person, and that's like what he likes, you know, about it. It's interesting. It's very like I said.
This is a show or a movie?
It's a show, and it's about his like mental state and like going through all this and the changes in the industry and like, you know, dealing with some of this industry. He wants to like have this, you know, make it more gritty and this stuff, but the people are like, no, we don't want to ruin the brand. These are for kids, and we're gonna replace you.
Oh, wow!
It's really cool.
His wife passed away.
Really?
Like, I mean, within like the past, like 7 years, 5 or 7 years, maybe even sooner.
Maybe that's part of why he took that role.
Yeah, I could see that.
Because, have you seen Man on the Moon?
Yes.
Dude.
Yes.
There's a documentary about it that came out recently on Netflix.
I think I saw the documentary
behind the scenes about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where, like Andy Kaufman's family was like doing
his daughter came
role-playing therapy with him.
Yeah.
He's Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And, like and Jim Carrey was like in the role, like being Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
He's like saying he's totally overwhelmed with it, and like he would not overwhelmed, but
like he got into brawls as Andy Kaufman.
He was in it. He was totally immersed. That's why.
Totally with that wrestler guy.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
Do you remember when Andy Kaufman's daughter, like a strange daughter, came?
I don't remember that.
I was like, I never met my dad.
Oh.
You're the closest thing. And they like connected and like had this like...
And she went through she was able to...
meet her dad.
Yeah. Wow.
Weird.
Yeah. You know, and you wonder... We talked about augmented reality music videos earlier. Like, soon you'll be able to like make copies of people, digitize them in holograms and stuff, and you have everyone's recordings of everyone moving, you'll know their mannerisms and their things, and you'll be able to like create that. And I bet you could, or even memories, storing memories and stuff, or recreating memories, and I bet you that could help a lot with stuff like that, like moving like past trauma or like therapy.
You think it would be helpful?
I think it could be, if used in the right, used therapeutically.
Well, then, like, who...
Because I know there's some augmented reality stuff with PTSD and, like, soldiers and stuff that they're putting them in a combat environment, but in a augmented reality or in a virtual reality.
Yeah.
So you bring them back to that, so then you can work it through. So you can, like...
Yeah.
Or, like, I know that there's a lot of stuff with...
Brain
MDMA.
spotting? Have you heard of brain spotting? I've done a couple sessions with my therapist in brain spotting. It's like hypnosis.
Sure.
It's like we work to get to this like REM state, but like you have to keep your eyes moving in this REM state, right? And then in that state, the traumas or triggers are brought up. And then you like reassign emotion or feeling to it. But I'm not immersed in like the trauma visually. It's like the memory of it. I think like seeing it would be super intense,
Yeah,
like
man.
really uncomfortable. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Getting into like the ethics of it.
It's a whole new world. I mean, hypnosis is. Have you been hypnotized before then? Or done hypnotherapy? Mm-mm. This kind of sounds like a little bit like it.
Kind of is.
Brain spotting?
Brain spotting.
Huh.
Yep.
Because I've heard about it. I remember hearing about, like, yeah, the therapeutic elements of it, but also, like, apparently Mike Tyson was hypnotized as a kid to, like, be a killer.
What?
He'd come from this really impoverished area and, like, didn't have a family structure by any of them. So this guy who was a fight, who, like, taught kids how to fight, and he picked up this guy in a very violent household, very violent neighborhood, just, you know, abject poverty. Mm-hmm. You know, the only way to survive is through, you know, these street fraternities and gangs and stuff, and violence, just like, you know, just survival, just core survival. And that's how you get like some intense fighters is through it, because you're in it, and then they reinforced it through these like this guy would bring him in these hypnotherapy sessions and be like, murder, you kill him, they're, you know, like, you know, you're an animal, I can get him, like, rage, unleash rage, whoa. And then he became, I mean, one of the greatest boxers of all time. But I think, you know, didn't he like kill someone in the ring or something? Or someone died like
afterwards.
I know he was savage, just total savage. But
yeah.
But like, apparently he's totally different now.
Yeah.
He's like super chill.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like talking about it. Mm-hmm. You know, he like feels like it was all a different lifetime and a different person.
Yeah, I just saw an interview with him, a podcast. I don't know who he was talking with, but
maybe it's Joe Rogan.
Like, no,
someone else. Okay.
No, it was like black and white.
Oh, okay.
Or
I know
something.
he's like has a weed farm now, or like a weed farm / resort. Like Tyson, yeah.
It's a resort too.
It's a resort, yeah. It's like, what do they call them? Ganjacations? No. Weedcations? There's some word for it. Or like going on a weed vacation to a resort where you just get high on all different types of things, and you can just be in nature and have everything there and just enjoy.
It's like going to Napa Valley.
Yeah, exactly.
Weed tasting.
Instead of wine, it's
very refined.
cannabis. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. Yeah, no.
The mind is powerful.
Yeah. Is that? No, I was gonna say just train spotting. That's something different, probably.
I don't think it's the same thing.
I wonder if that was like a.
I don't know where train spotting came from. I read the book. That was interesting to get through because it's like very Scottish.
Very Scottish.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from. I missed that one.
I don't know where it came from. That was pretty bad to get into the Scottish accent. I always be like, let's get a move on. Let's get the show on the road. Walk down the street, or that'd be like a wee bit.
That's convincing.
A wee bit. Just do it a wee bit. I love the Scottish accent. It's so cool.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's my least favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
There's this movie called Acid House.
Least favorite. Wow.
Have you seen Acid House? Have you heard of it?
No.
It's Scottish, and my dad, we lived in Phoenix for a little bit, and there's this really super dope, obscure movie store, like DVD store, video store. Remember those?
I remember that.
It was like after Blockbuster. I forgot what it was called. No, it was like independent. It was super cool. And they had this movie Acid House. My dad rented it for me when I had the flu. I was like in middle school. It was the worst thing. Yeah, like the dude takes acid and then he like turns into a baby, where he like switches like brains with the baby. And I just that accent and like the weirdness of the movie, and also like having the flu.
Right, yeah.
It was like,
okay. So it has some,
like the association.
yeah.
Of flu and Scottish. I need to reassociate my memories.
All right, so yeah, tell your therapist next time. Like this time, I really want to focus on Scottish accent. I think you have more important things to focus on. No, dramatic. This is what I want to focus on. This is what I want to spend my time and my money on.
Yeah.
Scottish accents. What about British accents?
I love British accents.
Because they're not too far off once you start going north and Britain into Scotland. They start to blend together, and like northern British accents sound pretty Scottish.
Maybe that's how we get over it, as I like am introduced to the blend. I'd love to.
It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like the Highlands of Scotland is just absolutely stunning.
I bet.
Stunning.
Really green.
There's so many colors. Green, definitely a lot of green, but there's a lot of browns and yellows and purples and pinks, and because there's a lot of bog.
What's bog?
Bog is like these landscapes of these like kind of, I wish I knew all the right words to say about it. It's essentially just, it's not like a desert, but there's a lot of plants that are, I don't know what bog is. I feel like I should look it up now. It's usually like low foliage. It's like not like, it doesn't grow really high. It's like a lot of bushes and a lot of like plants that grow, and they're really spongy and they're like mossy.
Kind of swampy?
It's kind of swampy, yeah. A little swampy. Not like, there's not a lot of stagnant water ever, but it's just very humid, like lots of, it's very windy, and there is a lot of green, don't get me wrong. But some of the most interesting landscapes were in bogs and stuff, but plenty of green for sure. Very, very windy. It was super windy. At least in some parts. I went up to this town in the northern part of Scotland called Tongue. Town of Tongue.
Scottish tongue.
The brogue. Well, have you ever had haggis?
No.
Or have you ever had tongue?
No.
Cow tongue? I hear it's really good. I've never had it.
Here it's really tough.
Yeah, I feel like I'd eat it and then I'd just be like, think about my own tongue. There's a lot of weird foods that like seem weird, but then when you eat them, it's like, oh, no, this is, like it's all about being associated. What you associate with.
Totally. Culturally too, like bugs.
Bugs, yeah.
Bugs, like
crickets.
Everyone eats bugs around the world. Pretty much. No, I don't. No, because look, did you hear my reaction? I'm like, oh no, because I'm like dumb American.
Yeah.
But like bug protein is kind of like the way of the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been hearing about that, like all.
And the way of the past too. Like it's nothing new.
Yeah, there's no way, no more way.
No one owns that idea.
No way.
No way.
Yeah, because whey is based on wheat. And there's a lot of people developing strange reactions to these certain strains of wheat that are ubiquitous and like these,
Frankenwheat?
Frankenwheat, exactly. Dude, did you just hear about this yeast from ancient Egypt?
No.
They just uncovered this ancient yeast.
No.
That was like still alive, and they...
What?
They found it, and some people are making bread with this thing now. Apparently it's like insane. It tastes like no bread no one's ever heard or ever tasted now.
What?
Yeah, man.
What kind of bread?
I don't know what kind of bread. But any bread you can make. Well, I don't know. It's a certain type, right? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think of like injera, Ethiopian bread, which is like spongy. I don't know what's in it.
I saw a picture of it. It was just like it looked like a loaf of bread. But I don't know what the family of bread it is. I'm not too in the bread world. I'm not a baker. I know like different types of bread.
I love bread.
Yeah, it's so good.
It is.
So good. So good.
The yeast was still alive?
Yeah.
That's some tough yeast.
Yeah.
It's a long time. It's a long ass time.
It's there with the pyramids, man. As old as the pyramids.
Wow.
Not a lot. Well, the Sphinx is a lot older.
Doesn't that just make you feel like...
Well, humans have been around since then.
it's just crazy. Like how like we're just a tiny little grain of sand.
Definitely. Not
This yeast has like outlived civilizations.
Right. Oh yeah, 100%.
And here we are.
It's getting nice and dark in here.
I know it is, isn't it? I look very tan. You look like a different person.
I do.
Oh, the mic was in front of your mouth, so it looked like a giant, like, handlebar mustache.
Yeah, here's a crazy fact about ancient Egypt. So, and like you're talking about how like these lengths of time, these crazy amounts of lengths of time. Mm-hmm. So let me see if I can do this justice and explain this right the first time. Excuse me. We got the distance in time between the Sphinx, when the Sphinx was made, and the Great Pyramids, right?
How long was that?
I don't know. A lot.
A lot?
I don't know the specific number. That's not the most important point. It's a lot. We could do some math maybe after. So there's that period of time. Imagine that period of time. That length of time. So that time.
However long it is.
Right. That distance in time is longer than the Great Pyramids to now.
No way.
Way.
For real?
For real. The Egyptians had their civilization for that long.
That like makes me want to cry.
That's crazy, right?
That's just insane. I can't. My brain doesn't get it. Like I don't.
No, you can't. No, you don't.
It's inconceivable.
It doesn't work like that.
It's beyond me.
Yeah.
God, that's insane.
Yeah, I was listening to this on my way back down from Sturgeon Bay. I was listening to this like darkness is getting. The darkness is getting. You switch that light on.
Sure.
Yeah. Whoa! Oh my gosh! That's so much lighter.
Yeah, it really is. I look like a different person. A whole new world.
You know that one? Don't you dare close your eyes.
Who sang that?
That's Jasmine, right? In the
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Right? Yeah, for sure.
Are you sure it's not Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah. Right?
You sure it's not The Little Mermaid?
No. I'm not sure. I think.
Can someone help us out? Can you see comments live?
I can. I don't.
Jamie.
Oh yeah, I'm going to read these comments. If anyone has any questions for Aria or for myself, or if anyone, they're probably laughing at. Oh, okay. They're just talking about the light situation.
What do they say about it?
So they can finally see us now.
Oh.
I think that's Aladdin, A Whole New World. But it could be Little Mermaid. But I don't know. I know the Little Mermaid songs. I remember I only took voice lessons once for like a couple weeks with this lady at Cardinal Stritch University. And we sang, I chose to sing that song Under the Sea. What is that song?
Under the sea.
Yeah.
Under the sea.
Under the sea. Down where it's wetter. Something, darling, it's better. Under the sea. I don't even remember. I'm so bad at I'm so bad at remembering words. Like I can't even remember my own words to my songs and stuff.
Has it happened to you when you perform?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Do people notice?
Some people do. But usually it's like it works fine. I'll just go back into something else, or like if I can do it on the fly, I'll be like, oh shoot, I said the second verse when I should have said the first. So if I'm smart enough, I can like do the first verse instead. But usually it turns out to be a blend of both. But usually that happens when I'm like playing, when I'm doing something different. I feel like when I'll play on the guitar the songs, or play without the guitar, and it's even easier. I'll remember. It's way easier to remember things when I'm not playing guitar. But then when I do play guitar, it's harder. But then, like recently, I played a few shows with the keyboard, and I'm playing these songs with the keyboard. And I felt like I was learning it all over again. Like working with different parts of the brain, or like things that I'm not, like I don't have all these chords and muscle memory on the keyboard, like because I don't play it very often. So then all of a sudden I can't recall this stuff as accurately. It's crazy. Even though I've sang the songs, so many times, and I wrote them and I know them, and I like, but I don't know. My brain just doesn't really work like that. It's just not really that good at. I mean, I'm learning them, but I'm saying learning them. That's what's weird. I like have to learn them, but they're things that I make and that I made that I sing all the time. It's weird. Once you add another element into it that you're not as comfortable with or as confident in, you're all of a sudden, it's like you're back in square one. Like you can't even sing.
Yeah.
Like I'll try and focus on the singing, and then all of a sudden I'm like playing the wrong thing, or like realizing I'm not playing anything. Be like, oh shoot. It's like that multitasking. It's like, because it's like you can only focus on one thing if it's not in memory. It's not in your muscle memory. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. That's tough.
Yeah, it's weird. I would only imagine some of these people. There's this band I saw that I played with called Seesaw from Madison. There's one of the performers in Seesaw. She was doing aux percussion, harmonies, and playing a synth at the same time. So she would like say something, do something, press a note, boom, like doing all three at once. Nice.
That's wild. Yeah, it takes a very special brain.
Yeah, I think, you gotta just, it's repetition, I'm sure. It gets better every time.
It's a muscle.
So did you
But sometimes, I don't know, did I ever what?
Did you ever perform or sing or anything? I mean, you're singing a little bit here. That seems like you got a decent voice.
No.
No?
No, I don't
Just
have a decent voice.
You got a decent voice.
Yeah, everyone can sing. Thanks.
Decent is like, it's not even like, you know what I mean? Decent.
It's not really a compliment. Is that what you're saying?
I was just.
Are you like, don't think too much about it?
No,
it's
no,
just
no,
decent. No. It's not good.
Well, just the way it was framed, it was just like, I said good. And then.
I said decent?
No, maybe I said decent.
We'll have to go back and watch. No.
But it was good.
No, I never. Well, nope.
I think most people have more ability than they think.
To sing?
To sing.
Yeah.
It's a state of mind.
We have to work on it too. I mean, I think everyone can be trained to sing.
Like, if everyone can talk, everyone can sing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's so many, like, the voices that I like are not even.
Who are the voices that you like right now?
I think, like, I was just listening to him.
It's great.
Yeah. Tom York. Always. And his voice is like good by like the standard of like that's a good singing voice, but also there's so much personality. It's like quirky and it's like not good.
Right.
There's like
it's not conventional.
Right. It's not conventional.
Yeah.
I love that. I like his voice.
Sometimes that's all you need. Like, and people like even people who are like, oh, they're bad like singers, or they can't keep a tune, or they can't keep a thing. It's like, well, everyone is singing their songs and everyone's connecting with their singing, so you're wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know, that to me, that's the litmus test for like good good artists, if you were to like be like, oh, that's a good artist or a bad artist, like if people are connecting with it, doesn't matter what it is. Like it could be this crazy electroacoustic noise music, and if everyone's just like, you know, or they like feel it in themselves, or if someone, I mean, I'm sure they exist, the people that love Yoko Ono's music and stuff. I've listened to it. I don't really understand. Like I can get it
sure
cerebrally.
they exist.
I can get it like maybe like what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to like, and maybe that's the point, right? Maybe the point is that it's not supposed to be this like thing that you love to like listen to these nice melodies and stuff.
Right.
It's just like her going like, wow, 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 bang, bang, wow, wow, wow. It's like, okay, I guess. But maybe that's my bias.
Maybe you have to see it.
Maybe. I don't know what kind of, it's like chanting, I guess. Maybe she's like, maybe it's like closer to chanting or closer to that more like primal type of, but I don't know, like some of the best chanting, I mean Gregorian chanting is amazing, Native American chanting, I'm just like, you know, just like shivers down my spine when I listen to some of this stuff. I want to know those techniques, so I'm always fascinated with those they like have so much volume in these really, really high pitched, they're like, they're not screaming, but they're kind of screaming, but it's super accurate, high pitched screaming, which is very like that's some advanced technique.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really is some advanced technique to be able to do that,
and for a duration of time too.
Right, and then everyone's harmonizing, and they all bang on the drum together. It's just like, oh. Some of my favorite stuff.
Yeah, that's super spiritual.
Yeah, and it's at its core. The voice, maybe some shakers and some rattles, but like the big drum and the community drum, right? Like everyone who's singing is also banging on that drum. The participation in that is great. I don't know what they're saying. There was like the Northern Cree Singers. I remember I downloaded, or I think that's what they're called. They had an album that I downloaded, and some of the songs they sang in the original language, and then like translated in English, and then went back, and then so you could like get the gist of what the song is kind of about.
That's interesting. From what I know about Native American music is that it's like you're not supposed to listen to it if you don't know what you're listening for. Yeah, like it's very sacred and protected, and there's,
I mean, it was on Apple Music.
that surprises me. I mean, that's just as much as I know.
I actually,
like, you have to be invited, like you have to be Native American.
I think I torrented it. It was like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
it wasn't 20, it was 10 years.
Well, you just exposed yourself, and they're gonna come after you now.
Northern Cree. I gotta. Well, now you can stream things, and some of the money goes to it. No, it's very. I mean, it's shaped. That's interesting. You said. I mean, I've heard that. I can't imagine. I guess maybe it's just totally outside of my own conventions of what I think is possible, like, or what music. Because my philosophy is like music is for like everyone should listen to the message, and everyone gets their own meaning out of it. But if they have this like different and they, right, this they, who knows, I'm sure there's tons and tons of different types of, you know, it's a giant country, like we were saying before when we were talking about America. Like the expansiveness of the culture, and the differences in the ethnicities and the traditions of all the different tribes and all the histories, the ancient histories of all these people. So I'm sure everyone has different philosophies on that, and yeah, that's
community guidelines.
All I know is that I listen to it and I'm just like, this is amazing. Particularly, yeah, the big drum chanting stuff, or have you heard of Taboo, the rapper, singer, actor? I think he's one of the Black Eyed Peas.
No.
And he's a show dancer or something.
Is he the really tall one with like the long hair and he wears like Matrix type outfit? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
That guy's kind of weird.
Yeah. That whole band is maybe a little contrived. Like, I don't know. That's what it feels like. I don't know. If I go to another freaking wedding where someone plays Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night, I'm gonna. Man,
Again, like, who chooses these songs?
I just do not
like the sports stadium songs. Like, who said like that song?
Someone did.
Should be played.
Someone with a cigar in a back room. No, that song. Like, you compare that to, because what I don't like about that song is
Mazel Tov. Like, it's so weird. They say that in the song. It's like, where does this come from? Where does it come from?
I don't know.
The guy with the cigar?
Who wrote it probably was Jewish. It's like,
yeah.
We got to throw Mazel Tov in here. But that song, it's like, tonight's going to be a good night. Tonight's going to be a good night. It's like, okay, yeah, you get the repetition. Repetition
I got a feeling.
Good. Like, one of my favorite songs of all time is Around the World by Daft Punk. And that's literally the same word over and over. But that's kind of like the idea of the song, right? And
it's more conceptual.
For some reason, that song I love, and I love hearing it over and over and over. But when I hear Tonight's, and I hear that, dun, 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 like, man, something hits me wrong about it. And I remember I used to date this girl in college, and we would not see eye to eye on a lot of different music. She liked a lot of pop country music and stuff, and I was like, she didn't understand my almost like repulsive reaction,
like, to disdain.
Yeah, because it's like, this isn't just the song. The song represents these ideas that I believe are oppressive and I believe are toxic or.
That's how you feel about Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night? It's oppressive and toxic.
I mean, I'm maybe speaking.
Who does it oppress?
Maybe not that song. Like some
like some country pop.
Well, the ideas of these like manufactured songs and stuff that like they are oppressive in the way that the messages that they put across, right? Like, it's all these subliminal things. Like, it's all about monetary gain, getting drunk, getting
clothes,
all about yourself,
jewelry,
all
cars,
symbols, and these symbols of material wealth, which means success. So like these symbols of success, whereas, people like Flying Lotus and Chance the Rapper and all those people who are creating a different idea. I mean, they're not the first person to do these, but like they are creating the success of, they're measuring it in a lot of different ways.
Of creating. Yeah.
By lifting up other people and by being looking back at more emotional and spiritually rooted things as opposed to material rooted things. And I think that's one of the big things that I like, that when I mean oppressive, that's usually that's like kind of what I'm talking about. Is like that I think that mentality, although I understand, like if you're born in abject poverty and you have nothing, like I'd totally get that having the Cadillac and do it like that. Of course, like that can be a symbol for your success and your transcending into a different state. But I think just that whole mindset and all that, like it can be not everyone's. That's a 1 in a million person, right? Like that's gonna have that, and I feel like I'm not sure how that helps everyone else. I don't think it does. It just like it breeds that culture of selfishness, and like people that look in and they're talking, and then they're in maybe have a sense of awareness of themselves and their communities and stuff. There's a difference between being like confident and loving yourself and being self-absorbed and stuff. Like I think there's not even a fine line. It's a total difference.
Well, it's also like, where are you hearing it too? Like, where are you hearing Tonight's Gonna Be a Good Night?
Yeah, it's always
pub club
weddings and
weddings. Well,
weddings, clubs no,
like club music too. Well,
my cousins, that was they had a first dance and then they went into that. Oh no, party anthem. What's that song?
Party rockers in the house tonight.
I don't know. I just lump them. I'm being very biased and very judgmental and like, you know, but I don't know. I kind of lump things together, but maybe sometimes for sure. But what, you know, going back to what I was saying about this girl I date, when she would see that, she didn't understand like as me as a musician and like how much emotional investment I have in my own music and like, what it means and how people react to it and stuff. Like when I see like these huge platforms that are peddling these, you know, that's what they're doing. They're just trying to make money, and it's not country. It's just like pop rock, and now it's blending. Now it's trap rock. Like, well, trap is apparently now the biggest.
Trap.
Trap.
Not hip hop, not rap, but trap.
Specific. Trap is the biggest genre now. Like it's the
really?
It's a subgenre of hip hop, but like for all the streams and everything, it's now like a third of the whole, all the music.
I hate trap music.
I mean, I like parts of it. I like the 808s. I like some of the arrangements and stuff.
Yeah,
but
it's just like really aggressive.
A lot of it is.
And like it's just like coming at you.
Some of that stuff is you know, the blatant misogyny.
Not aggressive that way. Like the musicality of trap music is just like, again, it's just like dun dun dun. But then like I love like New Order when it's like or Laurent Garnier. It's like like for like 3 minutes. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, and maybe honestly, when I first heard Little Town Road, I was like, oh, it's just another trap song that I didn't know. You know, like, but I'm not very well versed in trap music, and maybe it's, you know, because I'm like, I already know, like the hip hop, the good hip hop's from the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah, maybe and
I don't really know, per se, what's, you know, more and I know that there's got to be, you know, there's always amazing musicians everywhere, but that's the thing is like you're not gonna find those on the radio. You're not gonna find You're not gonna find those on the traditional, you know, power structures. Like, what is it? You might know. What was it, like 3 companies? No, 6 record labels that own 2/3 of everything, and they all like are always merging and getting more and more. Like they're all tending towards this monopoly, as they do, as, you know, in all industry, and you know, we've seen it in history. We've seen it a million times. Monopoly that game is not a game. That's, you play Monopoly, so you know, you get exposed to what Monopoly is. If you have an unfettered system of like this marketplace where you can leverage your power like that. I mean, I'm sure you can. That's what that game is. I remember someone telling me that game is the best education for people to understand one of the fundamental like kind of flaws in capitalism. Is that if you don't have these antitrust things, and you don't if you don't engineer the market to be able to facilitate, you know, healthy growth and these competitive nature that helps propel people forward and helps competition and helps that stuff like industriousness and things, you know, I think there's definitely a place for that. But when you have no rules and all of a sudden people start swallowing people up, and then no one can compete, you know, like Walmart and Facebook and Amazon. Yeah, like these are the new monopolies. And in media, like NBC merged with Universal and merged with Comcast, like, and then Charter merged with Time Warner and other Spectrum, and it's like, and then Disney owns like all that, you know, it's just like,
like ESPN and Hulu
and ABC, and yeah, they're way more than that too,
and all the little funnels underneath.
Right, there's a great. I remember one of the first infographics that I remember being like blowing my mind was like, it was someone had mapped out all the corporations, all the brands that you know, all like food and entertainment, and all these brands that you know, and you get to see it all goes up to like 6 companies that own everything, and that's mind blowing. But it seems like it's kind of business as usual. It's like kind of what's been going on. Like I remember hearing about the robber barons and the Gilded Age, and about American Steel and and Cole and all these giant J.P. Morgan and Rockefeller and Carnegie and all these guys that were it was kind of the same type of deal, but now it's in a different flavor. But man, I remember. What was that? Have you ever seen Zeitgeist?
No.
Yeah, it's a documentary trilogy. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Really fascinating. The guy Peter Joseph is one of my favorite people to listen to his lectures and to listen to his, because he's very much a student of like science and like Buckminster Fuller. Have you ever heard of Buckminster Fuller?
Mm-mm.
Ever seen those Bucky balls? Where it's like those balls that like collapse and then come out.
Yeah.
The fact that there are like domes, like the Milwaukee domes, and the fact there are domes anywhere.
Based on that,
it's his
design.
He's just like domes, man. It's all domes, geodesic domes, and geo is geometry and I don't know what that means. Decimal, 10. I don't know what that word is, but it's really fascinating. The first documentary was they talked about the Federal Reserve. And about what money is in America, what it is. Like those dollars are not. They used to be based on gold, and then it used to be based on, they used to be like a reserve, or no, what was it? Legal tender. But now it's like a reserve note. Everything is debt, essentially. Like every dollar in circulation is debt owed to the Federal Reserve. Every dollar that's given in the market out in the system is owed to
I don't get that.
They get to decide what the interest rates are being lended, and they're private.
Yeah.
But they have an insignia like this, and they've never been audited.
No.
In the past, at least, and definitely not in our lifetimes. Definitely not in the last 50 years.
Yeah.
And so yes, the concepts of central banks. I remember it was one of the big controversies and of the founding of this country was like central banks or not, and then there wasn't at the beginning, and everyone, but then later there was like a fight towards getting it, and then eventually it was instated, because that's the whole point. We're trying to leave England because they have these central banks, and like that's what controls, like that's what controls everything, is the system of our entire socioeconomic system is, the lifeblood is this way of exchanging value is through capital, right, and through money. And so if you're the person that is running that system, you get to decide the rules. You get to decide what's going on. Unless someone is telling you, unless there's a pushback, like a lot of other, I don't know. There's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of countries that have national banks, or like, communities used to own banks, like credit unions, and like people used to own things. Like in Milwaukee, the people used to own the baseball stadium. It's called Milwaukee County Stadium. It wasn't called TurboTax Field, or whatever. TurboTax is a great product, but like.
Thanks for the sponsorship.
And a lot of times,
TurboTax.
A lot of times, people,
right?
Oh yeah, TurboTax.
Product placement.
File your quarterly taxes if you're self-employed. I don't do that. I should though.
What if we just broke out and just like incrementally gave advertisements to give people the impression that this was like a sponsored podcast?
I think I'd like to get those sponsorships first. Well, this is going to be I'm going to take this audio and then put it on this Anchor, which is this platform for podcast, and they distribute it to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so people might be listening to that right now, but later. But we're live right now. This is crazy. It's how time changes, man. But there's a little advertisement at the beginning for Anchor, and it's a pretty good rate. Like I think it's $15 CPM, which I don't know what that means. Huh. But that is pretty good, apparently.
CPM?
Or is it CRM? No,
CRM?
CPM. Clicks per minute?
Sure.
I don't know, that's not right. Someone out there who knows what I'm talking about is like, oh God, wow.
How does he not know what that is?
How does he not know? But, yeah, so it looks like we're coming almost on 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
This has gone by very fast.
Wow.
It's been a blast. Let's see. Well, let me see if they asked any questions. I asked if they had asked anything. Let's see. Puerto Rican. Someone's Puerto Rican.
boots and cats.
Well, okay. I feel like if we go any longer, it's gonna go off the rails. No, I've been enjoying this conversation. Thanks for coming on.
Oh my God, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's been almost 3 hours.
Yeah, it has been. We should have taken the hint when all the lights, all the natural light. It's dark here all of a sudden. No, last time I kept the light on. One step at a time. Mm-hmm. Hopefully this audio is better than the last time. Although every time it's been getting better. It's been getting better.
Yeah.
I wasn't really controlling this thing as well as I thought I was going to be able to.
No, Jamie.
Like, there she is. There's us. There's me. Wow. Yeah, anyone listening is not going to have any idea what we're talking about here, but I am clicking and moving between these between the cameras, which is kind of fun, to be honest. But I can't, I was saying how I can't sing and play things very well at the same time. I can't be engaged in the conversation.
You were doing a good job before.
I gave up. Because it's like, and then it's weird to like put the camera on myself. Like, all right, now it's my turn to talk. Right? Like, that just feels weird. That might be a good place to end it. So everyone should, if you're in Milwaukee, or if you're just coming through and you want to get a good lash.
Back to lashes.
If you want to lash out.
Lash out.
In a productive and safe way.
Yep.
I've seen people that have. I admit I don't know all the terminologies for it. Mm-hmm. But to make it swoop up, what's that called?
The lash lift.
Lift.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Semi-permanent curl of the natural lashes.
I've seen that, and I know someone who had that done, and you're right. It lasts.
It's life-changing.
It lasts for a long time.
It lasts a long time.
And it looks great, and it's still. I didn't even it's one of those things like you notice in people, but it's such a subtle thing that it's like you don't always be like, what is different?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it?
That's how it should be.
Right.
That's how lashes should be.
Right.
Sometimes they're not.
And you can see like, ooh.
Oh yeah, totally.
So what?
Keep an eye on it.
What about
eyebrows?
Have you ever seen people that draw their own eyebrows in?
You're looking at one.
But like, they have no eyebrows.
Yeah.
So do you have eyebrows though? I'm assuming.
I do. Yep.
But you color it to make it look like it's darker,
a little fuller, yeah,
or a different color maybe. Mm-hmm. But you don't have like no eyebrows and then you draw it.
Correct.
Okay.
I have eyebrows.
I've seen that before, where someone clearly drew on something, but it's like not. It's just like whoa.
Yeah.
I see that in Ireland.
Oh.
Yeah, they square off their. At least I don't know if they do it now, but they would square off this, so it was like squared and then down like that. It was everywhere.
Were they pointy or rounded?
Sometimes both, and they would always do that thing too. Cat eye.
Oh, the cat eye.
With that squared. Sometimes I would see it, and it would be like, oh wow, that looks like great, but also see it and be like, oof.
No one's brow does that though.
Yeah, it's totally.
No one's brow is totally.
I'm not like super surprised, but I'm kind of usually like. Europe is the first place for fashion, like some of these big fashions, and they come here. But I think that was an Ireland and England specific thing because I never saw it anywhere else. But I saw it everywhere. They would always wear white pants and square it off with fake tans. It's like, you're in Ireland. Like, why? There is no sun. Everyone knows that's a fake tan. But I bet it's probably good, right? I mean, a lot of people that don't see the sun.
Good for them.
Good for their vitamin D. Seasonal affective disorder is real.
It's a real thing.
That's probably why the Irish sing so many sad songs, apart from their dramatic history.
Yeah.
But also just rainy. Anyway, so Mettā Lash, that's METTA Lash.com. And anyone who comes through Milwaukee, get a lift, at least.
Yeah.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
Hit up Aria. All right. Well, until next time. And we should do this again. This was fun.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can change back into the song and end it right here. All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.